Okay. I think it's good. Okay. The good news is that it wasn't an internet issue. It was just OBS crashing. So that, you know, it's a thing sometimes. There we go. Is it all working? Yeah. Well, Dragos, yeah, sometimes programs don't work quite the way that you expect them to. You abandoned us? Nah. OBS abandoned me. That's how I'm going to... That's how I'm going to think about that. I mean, look, I'm just glad it wasn't an internet issue. I mean, I reset my router anyway, but like... just so that I had something to do for a minute, but hey. I was so alone and abandoned. No. We missed so much during... Oh, yeah, so much. Yeah, yeah. Sure. Keep telling yourself that. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Furries? Oh my god. But why? Like... But why, though? Sorry, I can't do Yu-Gi-Oh eyes very well. They're overly complicated and stupid. So oh god. Okay, where's thing? Where's Oh, okay.
Josh!
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Oh, fuck.
Hello, welcome to the club.
Okay.
My internet's being fucky tonight, so we'll see how this goes.
I'm so excited to see how you end up managing the hair. Like,
I don't know, this character doesn't really have that wild of a haircut, so
which one are you doing?
I'm doing Saratari.
Who the fuck is that?
How do you spell
Oh,
that?
sorry. It's the theater boy from Art 5.
Yeah, it's the theater kid, so you know that he's a loser right up front. Is he my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh character? Yeah.
From the best series of Yu-Gi-Oh! You know?
Don't even joke to yourself. Okay, do I have some choice screenshots of this character?
I love when I type Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 into Google, it pops up a Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 fanfiction.
There's so much. It has some of the most. It's probably the most Fujoshi bait season of Yu-Gi-Oh!
I was gonna say, just based on the premise of it and where it eventually goes, like, yeah,
It had a really
seems the most
large
open to
female
it.
fan base, like, of every series.
Not
What is-
surprising.
What is Fudoshi again?
It roughly translates to, like, Rotten Girl. It's a very unique Japanese fan community, let's just say that.
Alright, well, on this topic, I have to ask you a serious question.
Uh-huh.
So, in all my zero research of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, I've never seen this character before, and I need you to tell me everything you know about him.
What?
I put his picture in the wiki.
Oh, Jim! Oh shit, he's our resident Australian. Best character.
Oh,
The
I
Crocodile
see
Dundee. I mean, how could you not?
So like famously, everyone loves this character, unironically.
Okay,
Nice.
so I'm questioning
So that's
the-
a real
so-
crocodile, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
Her
And, like,
name is Karen.
Oh, and the thing he calls her Shirley.
That's in the dub. Also, this is Sawatari.
Okay, Jesus.
Oh.
Super ultra hyper strong duelist Shingo Sawatari will decide it. Beautiful. Humble man.
He's great. You know, he's the jobber who made it to the final arc, and you know that's what matters. No one thought he would make it that far.
We love an underdog.
And somehow the character became popular amongst a sea of 8,000 characters, because Arc 5 is weird.
When you say, like, wouldn't make it, are you talking about, like, the narrative would just, like, stop caring about him? Or is this one of those shows where they just start killing people?
Arc 5 changes out nearly its entire cast every season. So every single story arc, it switches its cast.
Oh.
And there's like a handful of characters that get to like move between the casts every season, and just somehow Sawatari made it, where he got to be there the majority of the time for no reason. He never does anything narratively, but he gets to be there.
Nice.
Well, if he had an arc, the arc would end, and then they wouldn't have anything to do with him.
Oh, that's not how Arc 5 works. Your arc can stop before it even finishes and leave the series, and it just never followed up on. You know, like the main story.
Incredible.
Don't you like that arc?
Arc 5? I like the series, yeah, it's awful. I'm not gonna fucking defend Arc 5. It's not worth defending. Was it one of the most entertaining rides to sit through and see both, like, the English community's reaction and the Japanese community's reaction at the same time? Yes. That made up for how bad the show was. Because Arc 5 was a show that, it got people watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime again. Like, it got adults watching the show again. And just, at some point, it just fell apart and never recovered, so you had this large audience of both kids and adults watching, like, just, like, the series burned to the ground.
No. Oh, no.
Due to a mismanaged production where they clearly did not write out the full story and thus were just making shit up at certain points.
You can always just read the manga.
That's
definitely
not,
get the same story.
That's not how Yu-Gi-Oh works. Because
The family
Yu-Gi-Oh's
isn't real?
weird, and that's the they purposely make it to where the manga has a completely different story, but
Yeah.
uses the same characters.
Uses the same characters.
So it's
which
this,
is
it's like
you
an
know, that's a
Elseworld
choice.
version, as it were. And people like that, actually, because it gives you just more variance on characters, and it's kind of fun.
Isn't that like your ideal thing? Because then it's not an adaptation. It's just like, here, this isn't affecting, the comic side of things at all.
Like,
Even
it's
if
going
they're
to be
being-
different because it's a Japanese product, and how Japanese products are handled as a multi,
Right,
faceted series.
right.
So, like, that's just different. It operates under different rules.
Have you, I'm assuming you have, but have you seen, because they're on the second series under the new development team, because, the people who did the original 5 series, right? Is it 5 or 6? They switched production companies, right? Because of, what they were producing.
Oh, you mean the second generation of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes.
Anime. Yeah, so Gallop
Yeah.
went under, and now we're in now we're at Studio Bridge, producing the Rush era of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime.
Right.
Which is good. It's
Okay.
weird. It's just really solid. I'm not caught up, mainly because the wound is still deep, because the the reason why the series is just really solid is it's just copying Buddy Fight.
Okay.
because that's what every
weird.
single card game anime did. Like, as soon as Buddy Fight got canceled, every single series rebooted to be more like Buddy Fight.
Was Buddy Fight like that good or that
Well,
popular?
It wasn't popular. That's the weird part.
Influential.
It had a big cult following in terms of the anime, and that was about it. So as soon as it got canceled, everyone was like, well, we have to copy the Buddy Fight anime now that that's like an empty... Like, that fan base is now looking for like a home. And so everyone started copying it, and it just felt weird.
Huh.
Like, Battle Spirit started advertising itself like Buddy Fight. The anime for Shadowverse is a Buddy Fight clone. It was real weird when, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like, yeah, we'll also be a Buddy Fight clone. It was just odd to see.
Cultural impact.
If it wasn't that popular and like got canceled, I feel like that's
Well,
Well, so Buddy Fight's
It's-
popularity was weird. So when I say it wasn't popular, that is kind of a lie. It was popular, it just never saw growth. Which was the reason why it got canceled, is the company like looked at the project and went, you know, we haven't grown in numbers in like 2.5 years. It had just a very dedicated player and fan base.
yeah.
So when it got canceled, like, the players moved on to Digimon or Duel Masters, because they like are both good card games, and there really was nowhere for the anime fans to go. So just kind of like, that's just how it happens. No one's really done it as good as Buddy Fight, though.
Buddy Fight is the one with the big black dragon that you've posted before, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's an accidental part
Whoa.
of the fan base.
It's a good part, though.
That the show was popular in spite of that. Popular in quotes, anyway. Like, it's almost weird to say that the show was more known for being well written.
Huh.
In like a more wholesome way, because the show was just about kids having fun playing their hobby.
Yeah.
And it just so happened they also had the gimmick of their cards were like sentient creatures. So it's like, hey, it's like talk to your buddy. You know, that was the whole gimmick.
And you can fight with your buddy.
I'm sorry, Cody?
And you can fight with your buddy.
Yeah, you fight side by side with them. It's cute.
Wait, if somebody like trades their cards or something, is that like if they're sentient, does that mean that it's like a horrible like emotional thing?
Yeah,
Oh no.
they go into that in a few episodes. They have people like adopt like abandoned buddies and stuff. Like, that's a thing at one point.
Oh no. Imagine like you're not meta anymore, so you just get like tossed out into the street from the people that were supposed to love you.
Oh.
So that never happens. That there is a story like that in Vanguard, though,
Oh, nice.
where the main character gets a meta deck and throws away his original, like, his original deck, and the whole, like, story arc was about him realizing, like, oh, well, you can still, like, play on a competitive level with the deck that you want. You just have to, like, be good. Which
Is
is
that
true
true?
in Vanguard. That's a true
Huh.
statement.
Nice.
You know, that's a really nice message to like have in a card game anime, actually.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why
everything
that
you said,
season's
that
one
would
of the
fit
more popular.
Vanguard.
Oh, sorry, Fane?
From everything you've said about Vanguard, it would seem like, yeah, that would be a topic they'd want to go into, because it seems very much like tied to finding, like, you know, a playstyle or deck that's for you and building off of that.
Yeah.
Uh, I do really want to actually look into that because it seems really interesting.
Some
Even if it's
seasons are.
just, yeah. Which is, that's fair.
When you're a show that's running for 8 years consecutively and never stopping, like, you're gonna have duds
that's
for
gonna happen.
seasons. Like,
Yeah. Are seasons or series as long as Yu-Gi-Oh arcs, I suppose, or
Yeah.
like series? Okay,
yeah, they have blocks,
so each one
and
is
each
like
block is about a 3-year thing. So it's like, here's your cast for about like a 3-year period.
okay. So, but they've been doing it for about 8 years, so they're on the 3rd or 4th now.
They are on the 4th. I say consecutively for 8 or so years because they did stop for a year in order to like. They were going through a rebranding of sorts post-COVID, so they stopped the Vanguard anime for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in the D block, which is, well, anime fans like it.
In D Smash, man.
See your reaction videos, but you didn't seem pleased from what I heard.
And no, I don't like the D era anime series. Yeah, it's an unfortunate acronym, but
It happens.
it's either I call it the
Very-
D series or the Dress series, and no, because that is what the D stands for, is dress.
Next.
On a side note, I find it really funny, like that, like the hair so far has taken up as much time as like the rest of the drawing combined.
Well, I have to figure out how it works.
Yeah.
It's so complicated.
Oh yeah, that's why most Yu-Gi-Oh installments look like shit. Is because like you can't animate these character designs.
It's
But
like
they stick to it and we appreciate it.
Do we?
it's like they find like
I do.
weird camera angles where they can just like crop out the heads of the people.
So usually they just draw the characters poorly. And that's just how they do it.
So I'm assuming this is your interpretation of him as like a doggy boy. I really like how much Cyber Connect energy it has right now with the hairstyle. It just gives me real big like Solana like vibes. It's good.
It's unfortunate.
Wait, is he a dog boy? I thought he was a lion.
Yeah, I'm trying to
A
make him
lion.
a lion so that it makes sense that he has
Okay.
the anime hair.
Okay. I don't think it's gonna fully work, but it'll make more sense than Dog Boy. Okay, yeah, the whiskers help. Oh, I heard you were drawing Brian earlier.
Oh yeah, I did.
I'm sad I wasn't there because I could have given you an inspiration picture from my my travels, because I have quite a few where I was like, oh my fucking god, these people are so like I'm curious who buys these and doesn't understand the sexual energy of them.
Yeah, but I
because, like, it
wanted
was
it
just
based on the latest build of arches.
Just like this is just in a gift shop. I'm posting it. It'll take a second to upload, but like they're just selling this.
Oh my god. That face.
The face, and I'm just like, do people not realize how sexual this is? Because this is like one of the most, like, this is so intensely sexual.
The lips look so fucking weird though. Oh my god.
Right? Oh, Chase, no, this is not Aichi, I'm sorry. Maybe one day I'll draw Aichi. He is, like, one of the best protagonists ever written in a children's series.
The bear is just happy to see you, Fane.
He looks like he's missing his dentures.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Some of these pictures though, like, oh god.
I,
Let's see. Let's get Wolf. I've already posted the sea line. I'm sure Josh hasn't seen it, which is good because nobody needs to see that. I'm so annoyed they had a sea lion and it was the only sea lion there, and it just looks so awful.
Oh, for the meta. Oh yeah, that was Aichi. You remember when he threw away Blaster Blade for a meta deck? In quotes, meta. In the actual history of the game, Shadow Paladins didn't do that well in its first set, but you know.
Does Aichi have blue hair?
Yeah, Aichi's the original protagonist. He was the kid that got beat up and got his card stolen. It was 10 out of 10.
Oh, him! Oh, yeah. Nice.
oh my god, Fane, that black. You know what? No, all of those are just no.
Oh, like one.
You don't like the foot pick?
Yeah, no, the foot one is the most. No.
Again, these are just in a gift shop. They have like prints, they have like metal plates with magnets. They're just selling them here like these are innocent things, and I'm like, you do understand what this is, right? I don't think they do.
I like the
I
black.
really don't think they do.
Well, I think the main thing is, was this what the artist intended?
I think it was. Like, you can't tell me that, like, little paw pick, the feet, like, that is so intentional. So, I don't know if you saw these other ones, Josh. I'll just post them just in case you miss them. These are the others. Here, we've got an Ian one, and we've got a fucking... I'm so angry. I'm so angry about. Also, I hate the cow's eyes. I hate the cow's eyes so much.
The cow one is the only one that actually like I cannot stand looking at because the eyes.
It really is disgusting. The eyes.
Honestly, the owl freaks me out the most.
What?
Really?
I like the owl the most. Look at him.
Owl's fine to be honest.
He's very happy.
He's like
Out of all,
he's very
like the eagle one as well is not too bad.
Brian pointed this out to me, and I had to take a picture. I hate this.
Oh,
Beautiful.
No. Okay. Oh god.
It's fine, okay?
Oh, it's like his little ears are a hammer. Oh, that's cute.
I guess he is, yes.
What, is that not what you guys meant?
I don't know.
And the description as well. Oh. Nice.
Brian did point out this book, which did remind me of like art that Sirius would like. And it was actually like it worked on B2. It was still pretty cute. There's a picture where we have to tag ourselves. We know which one Selkie is, but let me just post the cover first.
Okay.
This was in a different store. This was just in a random grocery store where we were at.
Okay, you're not entirely wrong, but also I resent you.
Why? It's fine to have like a style you like. That's normal. Also, we know out of all of these ones, I'm trying to see. Am I the one laughing? I don't know. You can tag yourself, but Selkie, we all know which one Selkie is in this picture.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Josh is the bird, not even like anthropomorphized. This is just the bird. Uh, I'm definitely the fox just watching the other person fall over, and I'm assuming uh, Brian is the one falling over. God, is Ian the one with the like machete?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I guess so. I feel like Mike. Well, because I was gonna say because we also that book does have a picture of Ian and Michael in it.
Okay, okay.
It actually has quite a few pictures of well, it has like two. Let me just tag. Let's see. Tag.
This is great YouTube content.
Oh yeah. Look, things are being drawn. It's there. There's like an actual. Uh, yes. Serious, your gasp. Your gasp. This is not unknown to the YouTube algorithm. Is all I'll just say.
Very cute.
Can I
Yes,
post
Mm-hmm.
a
you.
hyperlink in the regular chat? I'm going to try. Does that
You
work?
should be able to. Yeah, you can.
Yes. Okay.
Will that work for everyone? Oh, it will. Surprisingly, yeah.
Oh, does it just open the image?
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice. I think.
it should be fine, yeah. Here you go. If anyone doesn't know, I'll see it.
Okay.
Oh, I like the fashion that that the lion is wearing. He's very suave.
Yeah, it's I don't know, school uniforms in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're designed. That's for sure.
Wait, that's a school uniform?
Yeah, yeah. If you look up like Swatari's design, that's just his school uniform.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, they go in. Like it's weird because they're also some of the better like anime school uniforms I've ever seen. Like, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does good work sometimes. Because it's not even like over designed and the color palette's good. Like, damn.
I mean, it makes a nice silhouette with the rest of his body.
Right? Like, I think the only series with like really boring school uniforms, I think, was like the original. Because it was just the solid blue and the solid pink.
Oh, the thing that Yugi wore?
Yeah, that was his school uniform.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Huh.
that kind of works for Yugi just because, like, his his hair is so busy that if he had a complicated, like, uniform, it might be a bit much.
Yeah. Well, like, because Jinochi also just wore like his school uniform, and it works good on him as well.
Which one is Shinoshi?
Where
Joey.
were?
Oh.
What the fuck is a square worm?
I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's right there. It's a square worm.
Okay.
I always remember Joey wearing, like, a green vest or something.
So he wore that in Duelist Kingdom specifically. And it wasn't a vest, it was a jacket. But, you know, they weren't in school during that arc. So any arc where they're still, like, taking classes, he typically wears, like, his school uniform. But he does have a couple other, like, iconic outfits. Because he would actually switch up his design, unlike Yugi. Where it's like you have school uniform or BDSM leather, whatever his outfit in Battle City was.
Hey, there was that one time where he switched out the rope on his Millennium Puzzle for a chain.
Yeah, that's what I said. The BDSM, whatever the fuck he was wearing during Battle City.
Nice.
I don't know. Remember when Kazuki Takahashi illustrated oh, what was his name? Oh wait, was it he that did it? Where he drew Yugi wearing a t-shirt with Hellboy on it.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And so like as a response, the creator of Hellboy drew Hellboy with a dual disc and Yugi's hair.
Oh,
Unironically, one of the coolest dual discs ever in the franchise, even though it's not official. It's just like in that guy's fan art, essentially. Because he had like an
Oh, what does it
originally
look like?
designed dual disc for Hellboy, and it's like, oh, that shit actually looks cool.
Wait, what did it look like?
It was like this demonic, like gigantic dual disc. It was almost similar to the Orichalcos ones, and I almost think that was the inspiration for the Orichalcos dual discs.
Mm.
oh shit. Okay, I think I see it. Hang on, I'll try. Is this it? I posted that to my personal server. This.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh, wow.
So they did like a cute little art exchange. It was real cute.
Ooh.
That's a good look for him. Well, the hair is a bit. Still.
One of those weird like art trades that like I feel like should be talked about more because it's insane that it's like the artist for Hellboy and the artist for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yugi.
Because I feel like you wouldn't get anything like that ever again, given the current like state of the industries.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. Well, they don't really. They almost interact less now than they did before, which is weird to think about.
Mm.
It's like, sure, we have DC comic webtoons, but like, does anyone actually care about those? No.
But we're in like the age of crossovers, where everything is crossing over with everything.
Yeah, and how well did those Hanna-Barbera DC comic crossovers do? Does anyone remember those? Does anyone care? I
You
don't
mean
think
like
so.
Scoob?
Scooby and
No, they
Batman?
had a series of comics called Hanna-Barbera Beyond, in which like a bunch of Hanna-Barbera characters are now in the DC universe.
Which
Oh.
ones?
Like a bunch of them. You have like Snagglepuss, like Yogi Bear. There's a comic called Deathstroke versus Yogi Bear. Like I don't know what else you want.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Crossover of the century. Let's go. That sounds so
There's an
good.
issue in which there was a Looney Tunes crossover in which the Joker had to fight Daffy Duck. Like, no one talked about it. Okay, that's a lie. Comic book fans talked about it.
Sounds amazing.
And that was it.
The next DCE, the DCE.
Yeah, I know what you mean. No way.
I don't know what the acronym is.
Neither do I.
For what?
The DC Cinematic Universe. I know it's not DCCU, but I don't.
Yeah, they did adapt the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover, but that's just because, like, for some reason, Ninja Turtles is still like a brand that people know.
I mean, Rise of the Ninja Turtles is still there, I think.
I thought it ended.
Did it?
I thought it did. And isn't that series like now 4 years old? Like it's kind of. Isn't that kind of boomer at this point?
Did they just have a film? I could have sworn they did.
They might have to end it, but like, yeah, that series is also like kind of old though, Selkie. Like,
I don't know. Just throw it out there.
But it's just like I don't know how that franchise has so much longevity to it. Also, I didn't really like Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but hey, that was just me. Thought the comedy was bad.
Okay.
Or I guess there wasn't enough variation with the comedy with the characters. That was my issue with Rise, is all 4 of the turtles had like identical comedic skits, and you could like just interchange them. At least like in the first like 12 episodes or so. Which was what I watched, and then I got bored and went, I don't feel like keeping up with this anymore.
Okay.
It also has the reward. It has the. It can claim the throne of having the worst Splinter ever in the franchise.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
Should
yeah,
I
that's
ask?
it. Yeah, that's
Should I
the
ask?
crossover comment. He's doing this thing.
Cute.
Yeah, I think the only like Hanna-Barbera comic that actually like stuck around was the Scooby-Doo one, and like, wow, surprise. Which like is a shame because the other ones were better written. But like no one was gonna pick up like a modern comic about like the Flintstones.
Oh, that was Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah. Did they try to make the Flintstones edgy?
Yeah, all of them were. Like all of the Beyond series were like, hey, let's do this, but kind of edgy. But they were all edgy in different ways.
Okay.
Like the Snagglepuss one was actually about like the behind the scenes like shenanigans of Hollywood and how unfair it is, and like how unjust it is to the people within that system. The what's it called? The Flintstones one acknowledges like the fact that they're caveman and probably like pillaged and murdered whole other tribes in order to take the town that they have. And like the most boring one, which was the Scooby-Doo one, which was the one that lasted the longest, was like, hey, Scooby-Doo, but what if zombie apocalypse?
Oh, I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah, there you go. Kind of one of those things that's like, oh, quality doesn't sell. It's a premise with a recognizable brand that sells. That was a grim reminder for DC Comics with that whole lineup.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, we don't have to make these good. So the crossovers are universally terrible. Like the crossover ones where it's like, oh, it's Nightwing meets like a Manila Gorilla or whatever his fucking name was. Or Aquaman has to team up with, what was it, Jabberjaws.
Now you're just making characters up.
Do you not know Jabberjaws? He's like the butt of all Hanna-Barbera jokes. Like, he's a universally hated character. He's constantly being made fun of. He's the shark.
Him. Yeah. I recognize him now.
He was in one of the best Mystery Incorporated episodes.
He really was. God, I love that episode.
It's so good. I still love Blow, Woman Blow. There's just so many things about that episode, and the animation style change. It's such a good episode.
Like,
I'm really hit or miss with that comedy on that, but that was so good.
I feel like that show is like, you have to care. Like,
yeah,
no, like to actually like the comedy in that show, you have to care, because there's almost too much care put into it.
I think, my problem is that, obviously this is going to be, for me, this isn't going to be surprising, considering my quote unquote hot takes that I don't think are hot takes, but they are with the Smoke Room Christmas special. I feel like a lot of the humor in Mystery Incorporated is too referential, and I realize that that episode is like stupidly referential, but for whatever reason, it works better for me. And I'm
But every
aware of like a
episode
lot
is
of
like
the
that
things they
episode.
are. Yeah. Some
Unless
of the
you don't
things, like,
see
when
it.
it's in the execution, because sometimes they will do like try to like throw in like a Hellraiser segment and it just doesn't hit the same way where they're like trying to do it, and maybe it's because like they're just referencing something that's already a comedy, that it works better than when they're trying to take something that's like serious
For
and
me,
turn
it's
it
like
into a
any
comedy.
time they're like actually having fun with Hanna-Barbera stuff, I love it. Mainly because I am a
Oh yeah,
fan
no,
of
for sure.
Hanna-Barbera, and I get that like
Oh
half
no,
those jokes don't land for most people because they're like, who the fuck is like Avocados?
right.
Or
That
what the
episode in
fuck is a
particular is
Van
fucking
Ghoul?
great. Oh yeah, no, those are all great because I love the stupid things when Cartoon Network, like when they didn't have enough content, so they just showed like Hanna Barbera shit like 24/7 before Boomerang. I watched all of that, so all of that hit for me.
Even
That
like the
episode's
modern
fucking good.
references, I kind of liked. I'll never get over Baylor Hotner. I don't know. There's something about that.
Oh
still,
no,
like
So,
kind of gets
yes.
me.
that's not bad.
With skin the color of boiled pork.
I just think some of the horror references don't land the way that they want them to. But like shit like that, yeah, no, that's good.
It's also just the best designed Scooby-Doo thing ever. Scooby-Doo
Yeah.
will never look that good again.
Apparently people are talking about how is it Be Cool Scooby-Doo
Oh,
was
Scooby-Doo
actually
has like
pretty
Be Cool
okay.
Scooby-Doo has like phenomenal animation, not art design.
Yes. So that's what everyone's been saying, because I completely wrote it off based off of the character design, and I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, it was good.
Because
like
I love
Be Cool
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo is like just a really solid installment.
Yeah. And I love everything Scooby-Doo. I've seen way too much. I should have fucking watched it. I probably will at some point soon. God, why does Scooby-Doo like have that hold on me? I don't know.
I don't know. I've watched pretty much every single installment.
Like the movies, the 13 Ghosts, like a pup named Scooby-Doo. A pup is so good. Fucking hell. Mystery Incorporated, the originals. The only one that I really like loathe, it's not even like Get a Clue, which is still like not the best, but it's like easy enough. It's of course What's New, Scooby-Doo, which is just so bland. It's just like, we need a Scooby-Doo product, here you go. Oh, I hate
Isn't
it.
there like a what was it, like Zappy-Doo cartoon that's like universally reviled? Or Scrappy-Doo cartoon that was
It's not
It's
universally
not
reviled,
reviled.
but it's just people don't really like that character. But I feel like a lot of people don't like that character because the movies don't like that character.
I feel like the not liking Scrappy-Doo was a meme that actually caught on, and that's a little sad.
Yeah, because Scrappy's, he's annoying, but he's like good annoying. I enjoy Scrappy. He's fine.
He's there for a dynamic, and he fills
And-
that niche in the installments
Yes.
he's meant to.
Yeah, because like usually when Scrappy's there, you're missing some of the main cast. And you need something more than just Scooby and Shaggy, because those two, as much as I love them, are fucking idiots. So you need somebody who is at least kind of competent. They try to mix like the competency of Velma with the idiocy of Fred, and you kind of get like that's where you get Scrappy. It does not really work well with the group dynamic if you add him in like when all of them are there, but he fills his role well. He's decent enough. I don't know. He's fine.
Yeah, I kind of thought that like Flim Flam was worse.
What seasons was Flim Flam in again?
He was only in 13
that was
Ghosts.
all in 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was in one
Yeah.
installment, and they were like, this character was a mistake.
Yeah.
Which is why I think the Flim Flam joke was really funny in Mystery Incorporated, where they acknowledge him in one scene and they
And then move on. Yep. God.
Did they bring him back?
That show was. I don't think so.
I just on
Not
the
like- not-
images, it's like a older version of Flim Flam.
Oh, he shows up in a they made a 13 Ghosts sequel as part of an anniversary project.
Oh yeah, that thing.
So he came back and was aged up as like part of a joke. So it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm just okay. I'm really just mad at What's New Scooby-Doo for what it did to the movies. Because the movies, at least the first like 4, when they were being done by a Japanese studio, were really fun, even if they weren't all perfect. And then you get to the What's New Scooby-Doo era, and it's just like it completely undoes everything the animated movies were doing up to that point. And it's just like, this is so boring now. I get that you're trying, but like, oh.
Well, you're
I
gonna
like
have like
the magic
droughts
being real.
of like
No, for sure.
because you have like you get installments where people are embarrassed that they're working on a Scooby-Doo property. Like Scoob.
That would make sense. Well, you know what? To be fair, I haven't seen Scoob. I probably should. I've heard some people say it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, but you can tell the lack of confidence in the
Okay.
Scooby-Doo brand when you watch it. There's definitely some deep cuts, so you can tell like some people in the writer's room and some of the artists working on like set design and stuff were pulling
care.
the weight.
But it's like a clash.
Yeah, but it's like clearly the
Okay.
main vision, they do not care.
Right. And from what I understand, Scoob is more of like it was attempting to be a jumping point for like other DC properties. Like they really were mixing in a bunch of different things for you to possibly like, hey, we'll do this and we'll just start with Scooby-Doo because people know Scooby-Doo. And that's not necessarily where we'll keep going. And then just like nothing came of it.
Yeah, but they also
so
did
far-
all of the all of the Hanna-Barbera universe characters kind of all sucked.
Honestly, it's hard to do them in a good way, but that's false because they're all actually very easy to like.
No. What I
they're
mean is they
so,
sucked
like-
in that movie.
No, I know. It's just. I don't know. I just think back to Wacky Races, which is like one of my favorite Hanna-Barbera shits.
Oh yeah, I wish that character was done better.
Yeah.
Like I still don't know what the fuck they were doing with Blue Falcon. What the fuck was that? What'd you do to Dynamite?
Weren't they trying to like? I haven't seen the movie, but from what I understand, they were trying to do some sort of like superhero type thing for them.
Yeah, they were
they were
doing the
already
Avengers.
superhero parodies. Like,
Yeah. They were doing the Avengers without any setup. Which, DC just fucking loves doing, at least for the film branch. They just really want that Avengers like status. So they keep trying to do the Avengers without any of like the love. And like the Avengers isn't even like the best Marvel stuff. It's usually just like, we gotta get this done. Fuck. I don't know. I have issues with the
it's all a
movies.
mess. Like it just
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah.
And DC really can't get their head out of their ass for their comics. So like, oh my god, it's been a decade. Like, I know that some people are like, no, they're finally back on track after the end times. But no, it's just not. Every time I go back to them and I try to read a book, I'm like, oh, it still just doesn't. It's still confused.
So, what's going on with their current universes? Because I know they've also had like universal resetting stuff. It's not like, I feel it's so weird because for the longest time while I was growing up, DC was like the main comics company that I knew of, and like within the last like 15 years or so, I'm just like I just don't know anything that's happening with them.
Oh, well, after... So we've had how many reboots this past decade? 3 to 4?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm. It feels amazing.
Ah,
So the
they can't
latest
just
one was
hand.
meant to, like, fix all of the reboot shenanigans and went, this is the final reboot. Because
Mhm.
we've destroyed the DC multiverse and created the DC omniverse. What does that
What
mean?
is
that?
Nothing.
Oh, I hate that.
It's just, they're like, everything that existed in DC Comics still exists. It's the omniverse now.
Right. So this is just like a reset where it's like whatever was working, we'll go back to that. We swear we're sorry we fucked up. It doesn't mean you can't continue whatever the new shit was. Also, it's just like it's everything.
Yeah, I viewed it as a get out of jail free card of if a person complains
Okay.
about something, they can go, well, your thing is still canon somewhere.
God, why didn't Disney just do that with the Star Wars canon shit?
Cause look, DC's had so many rebrandings with their characters that you now have characters with no
needed it.
purpose.
Okay.
Where, you have like the one that I probably complain about the most in comic book communities is like Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. He has no
Mhm.
place in DC Comics anymore.
Okay.
He has nothing to do. They should just kill him at this point.
Wow.
Because he can't have... They refuse to give him his own mantle. Because they tried and then they retconned it.
Oh.
They refused to let him get the mantle of Batman because they tried that and they retconned that. And now he can't be Robin anymore because Damian is Robin.
Is Damien the bi one?
No, Tim is. That was the
Okay,
reason why
well,
they made Tim bi, was so that they could say they're doing something with him.
with him. Okay.
Which just feels like such a last-ditch effort to try to get publicity for that character.
Right.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, if you don't know what to do with him, just kill him, just so that I can stop suffering.
No, they can't, because that would just be fridging your gaze.
I don't... Well, now it would be. They had their chance to fridge him.
Yeah.
And they already fridged him, narratively. Because the next week they said, look, Superman is gay, and so everyone stopped talking about Tim.
Yeah.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Well,
Not that
yeah.
Superman.
It's not, yeah, it's his son. But, yeah, oh, God.
Which I'm still upset
They
they made
have-
him Superman. That was such an awful decision.
Yeah, that's very weird. Like,
Like, as a person who was actively reading Super Sons, I now miss that book, and I'll never get it back because they aged up the characters.
we have the Omniverse now.
Oh, yeah, so it's not like they'll ever continue the book.
It exists somewhere.
Well, wait, I haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, but isn't Dragon Ball Super, like, technically before Dragon Ball GT, sorry.
Yeah, it's before GT,
Yeah.
and also GT's not canon, but they don't want to say it's
Yeah.
not canon, so
So,
don't ask.
they can just do that. They can just do that.
They already do that for
They
some
can just-
comics. Look at the Legion.
But I'm just saying, with that specific one, they can just go back to it and be like, so this is the time in between. And like, if it contradicts it, don't worry about it. Just
Yeah,
don't think
that's
about
what
it.
they typically do now, is like whenever there's a modern contradiction, they just go Omniverse.
Oh my god, that's beautiful. Whatever.
And I'm like, please, I just want the Justice Society back.
I don't think I've even heard about that. So is that just like the Justice League to the next level? Is
They
that
were
like a
the
specific?
no, they were the original DC superhero team.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
So
this is pre Justice
yeah, this
League.
is characters like Green Lantern. Yeah, that doesn't work, does it? This is characters like Hour Man and
Alpha
Midnight Man and Wildcat and Hawkman. Like it's these characters.
Oh,
Those sound so
Bargain-
gay.
bargain
Everything. I don't know them, but they sound extremely gay.
Well, they're like from World War One style characters, so like
Yes. So very gay for sure. Just closeted. Okay.
one of them has a gay son.
Oh,
nice.
He got retconned out of existing.
Of course.
great.
And when they brought back the Omniverse, they gave him a one shot and went, "Look, he's back. Aren't you guys happy?" And everyone was like, "You shouldn't have gotten rid of him." He didn't exist for a decade in comics because of the New 52. Like it was because the Justice Society didn't exist in the New 52. So that character was never born. So it was just that was an entire decade where like a bunch of characters just didn't exist anymore.
So I do know of the New 52. Was that like 3 or 4 reboots ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
that's the only reboot that I know of. Off
the New
top of
52
my head.
is 12 years old now.
God damn it. Okay.
It's
To have that many reboots in between that, like that's a long time, but it's also like extremely short for the amount of time.
So we had Multiversity, which like rebranded the multiverse and reset some of the multiverse shit within the New 52 because of how poorly
I hate
things were
that
going.
name.
And then we had DC Rebirth, which brought back like a handful of characters from the old continuity and brought them into the New 52 continuity to be like, look, see, the character you like is back. We're not going to do anything with them, but look, they're back.
Right.
And then that didn't work out. And everyone kind of like once everyone got over the excitement of Rebirth, everyone kind of hated it. So they're like, here, the Batman Who Laughs, we're doing death metal as an event. The Omniverse exists now.
God. Wait, so Josh, I know you have problems with how like comics adjust to like their film counterpart. Is that happening with DC? Or is DC just floundering for completely different reasons?
Do you mean like in the movies or in the comics?
In the the comics, like what you're saying, anytime something gets popular in Marvel, the comics change to reflect what's happening in the films, rather than like the comics still retaining what made them.
Well, so you know how the DC films are in such a mess, right?
Yes. So that's why I'm curious.
That they can't account for the movies because they're being written as they're being produced, which means they can't write comics to coincide with them.
Right. Okay.
Because that's how much of a disaster it is behind the scenes.
Right. Okay. That's great. And also that actually, oh God. So wait a second, Josh. When you say that, like, that actually gives me a different perspective. So when you're saying that like comics will change to reflect the films, do comics change to reflect the films before the films come out?
Sometimes.
So is that just a way for people to be like, hey, this isn't like the comics, like as a like kind of a defense almost, to be like, well, it's actually like the comics, the new ones.
Yeah,
like,
so you remember Age of Ultron, right?
Yes, yeah.
So like before Age of Ultron came out, there was a storyline in which they retconned Wanda and Pietro to make them so they aren't mutants and are no longer related to Magneto. And everyone was like, but why though? And then, you know, they were introduced in the MCU and it was like, oh, that's why.
Oh, Christ. Okay. So it's just... Okay. So what I always thought was that you were complaining just solely based on like changes based off like a film success. Them actually changing it to justify the movie's changes is so incredibly stupid. And to be fair to them, there is a certain subset of nerd culture who will be like, yes, like this comic book, without any critical thinking. So I can see why they might try to adjust to them, but that's stupid because those people are losers, and you have no like need to adjust to their expectations. They're not the ones who are going to help you.
Right?
So, out of curiosity, like, if like Wanda and Quicksilver are no longer related to Magneto, but now they're bringing the X-Men in, how is that going to
Mhm.
work?
Well,
they'll
they're
just make
now
Inhumans
mutants again in the comics because they rebooted the X-Men a couple years ago. So they're mutants again. Coincidentally, that lined up at around the time that they got back the rights to the X-Men.
Oh, great.
A shock.
So like in the movies, do you think they're going to like retcon them to say you actually were mutants? or-
Probably.
Yeah, because they haven't been specifically stated what they are yet, from what I understand. They went out of their way to not mention anything in Age of Ultron. I haven't seen WandaVision or Multiverse of Madness. I can't imagine.
Apparently, they just
would.
don't
And
mention
now,
anything.
yeah, which
Yeah,
would
they-
make
they
sense.
still don't
The fact that
mention anything there.
Miss
Hey.
Marvel is the first time mutants are mentioned.
Yeah.
So, like-
is like
In WandaVision, like their explanation for Wanda's powers is really odd because like essentially they say like you got experimented on by Hydra, but that's not actually where your powers come from. Your powers come from something weird.
She had them when she was younger.
Also, they've already retconned her powers twice within the MCU. Perfect.
Yeah, so like
yeah.
So, like the first time was like in Age of Ultron with like the experimentation, and then in WandaVision there's like, well, actually no, you got your powers from like here, and like the experimentation just like I guess awakened it.
I'm really sad you didn't continue watching Miss Marvel with Darian, just because like your reaction to the Embiggen moment, like I would have loved that, where she says Embiggen, and it's just the light thing again, but like she uses it on herself. So like the lights make her like body proportions weird, but like her body's the same. I feel
She
like
just
that
has a
would have
construct
broken
around
you.
herself.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like that would have upset you, because she's like that's a big like it's treated with like such a big moment, and it's just the same shit as before. She's just using it on herself.
Well, like every time she uses her powers in that show, it's embarrassing to some extent. And
Yeah,
not in the way
like,
that they
didn't
want
they,
me
like-
to think. It's usually because of how poor the
Like,
special effects are.
Like, didn't they change like how her powers work in the show? Because like in the
Yeah.
comics,
They just
it's,
give her
like,
a moveset.
Yes, but they
Yeah.
also very importantly, not really. They're like, oh, by the way, your powers don't come from this bangle. This bangle might have just unlocked them? ? And there's definitely a second bangle that you haven't gotten yet. So maybe you have more powers? ? But we don't have that bangle to test it out yet. But it's definitely you and not the bangle. It's very like.
It's very
I don't
poor
know.
covering
We'll
their
discover
tracks.
Yes, it's very much to be determined. Is like the vibe you get from like all of it, which is great. For like a series
like,
where it's like
For
okay,
pretty much every time like superhero stuff is mentioned in that, you can tell that they don't care.
I think okay, that's the
Like,
thing.
They
I think they
clearly
do care.
about like the teenage personal drama and like
Yes.
her like family and shit. They clearly care about that and nothing else.
So
Okay, so question: what did they make her powers like in the show?
Oh, she's
Because
now Green
in the-
Lantern.
yeah, essentially,
so
yes.
she can- so she just, like,
They
make-
use the exact same wording for how they always explain Green Lantern's powers, which is really jarring.
so they like literally call them like hard light constructs.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
They use the
I-
exact
Oh,
same.
that's
exact-
terrible.
So what I'm gonna say is what they're doing is like they're treating her as like not smart enough, despite being really smart to realize that she can use them in like Green Lantern ways. So she's just using them as like an extension of herself because they want to like keep it kind of like what the original series was. But also it's
But
like,
only on like the
there's
barest
like,
surface level. That's like for literally.
well, that's what I mean. Like
Who is this
Kamala,
change for? Like
this
why
is-
do the
I-
embiggen thing? They've already lost like Miss Marvel fans from the trailer.
yeah.
I feel like it's because anytime they've tried to do like stretchy people, like CGI, it just hasn't looked good. So they're like,
I
screw it.
really
Oh, so
think-
they've stated why they changed her powers in several interviews, and then behind the scenes we got the real explanation, which was it was a budget constraint.
It's a budget issue, which is why I think that like they're going so hard on like there's a second Bengal
And
that
that's
she
the
hasn't
same
tried
thing
on
with
yet.
Marvel.
That she probably will eventually get those powers once she
It's
tries
too
on
little
the
too late at
second
that
Bengal.
point. Like
No, I get it.
you had your shot. You had your shot. Like it's...
But like what you're saying about them not caring about the superhero stuff, it's so apparent because anytime it switches to like superhero shit, the series like goes from like what I view as like an extremely enjoyable show to like just terrible. It's really bad because it's clear that the people who are involved who are just like, yo, we want to make a show about like a kid who is like Muslim growing up like in that lifestyle. Like I guess we have to like concede that like yes, she does have superpowers. So we'll just like kind of add it in. Every single time they have to do that, you can tell that the directors just stop caring. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's sad. Like it's just sad to watch.
It's like you haven't even seen the third episode, which I do generally like, but it has that like they have that reveal of that character who is appearing in visions in the second episode, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're here for you. Like, here's other us. Like, we are all like Jin. We have these powers. Like, don't worry, you can like decide." And then it's like 30 minutes later that she's like, "You've taken too long. We're gonna murder you now. We're evil, just straight up evil now." It's very jarring in like how much like they've just introduced this character and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess we do only have 6 episodes to get through all of this.
Oh my god.
It's really bad.
It's so
they do
weird.
some really fun stuff.
Because like the comic goes all in on all aspects of Kamala. It's like her teenage life is going to be very important about like her social life and dreams and stuff. Her heritage, very important to her character. It's a whole separate thing. Her superhero stuff, very important, but it's also a separate thing. So you get these nice like back and forth with all aspects of her life, which is what people like about that comic. It's
Right.
a replacement Spider-Man.
I would say that they still do a decent job with the show to a certain extent. They just rearrange things in some regards because I think they left a lot of it up to like the new writers and filmmakers, so they really wanted to lean into the idea that like, so what you were mentioning specifically about her like split between like her American heritage and her family like background, a lot of that is like it's still present with Kamala. A lot of that's given to her mom, who is like the person who actually is the one who grew up in both places. So they try to like split that between that, which is
that's
interesting.
Like that's just a bad idea for adaptation. If I can swap out every name and you not even know it's a Miss Marvel thing, that's a problem.
I feel like it works within the confines of what the show is doing, but yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, but that's a problem.
That would be frustrating. I definitely think that at least part of it is because they realized, oh, this is somebody who converted to being Muslim later in life, to where these are people who grew up with it, and they're like, so we're just gonna do what we want to do with the show, and they're just like, okay, well, you guys know. So it's less of an adaptation, and it's more of a like, we're gonna blend our personal experiences onto this character.
Well, yeah, you can tell it was written by adults, and so they gave it to the adult character because it's hard for the staff members to relate to Kamala.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad take.
It's
'cause the
probably
mother
why they
is
gave
the-
Kamala the most boring teenage drama personality I've seen in a while.
I've seen so much bland shit that I can't agree with that, but I can if you're judging it based off of like the source material where it's like much more of that like divide within the character itself. Yeah, that does definitely remove a lot of like what defines
Well, it's also that
her.
thing of like what makes comic book characters typically is how they bounce off of their side cast. So when they removed her side cast, it's just like, oh, a lot of Kamala went with them. That's unfortunate.
Okay. I do think that they didn't necessarily do that. Like the way that Nakia is still like a big part of it. It's just that I think the 6
Hey, where's
episode
Josh?
structure really fucked them up.
Where's Zoe?
Uh,
Where's Bruno?
Zoe and Bruno are there. They are there. They had a goal with this season, which I don't think was smart given they only had 6 episodes, which is that 2 of them completely take place like in another continent. Like they are like at the end of episode 3 has her like boarding a plane. So like a lot of that secondary cast shows up for
Where's
the
her other
finale, but
classmates?
it's like, well, that's what I mean. They only had 6 episodes, so like Zoe and like Bruno, all those characters come back in a big way in episode 6, but that's the finale, and that's just like, okay, why? Like, it needed more episodes than 6. I think it was a very stupid move to only have 6 episodes and write the story they did. They could have used only 6 episodes, but they would have had to rearrange things.
God, just remove the superhero plot.
Yeah, no, honestly, yes.
Just remove it. Also, remove Zoe.
It would have been better.
Like, give me that character. She was so much fun. Like, moment 1, she's one of the funnest aspects of reading that comic.
I would say she has a decent part in the first episode, and she has a decent part in the 6th episode. It's just she disappears for like,
no,
you know,
like I
the
actually just
4.
didn't like her appearance in episode 1. Like I looked at that and that's not Zoe.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate. It's kind of also the same with like Bruno, where it's like that's not Bruno. This is some white guy. And that's unfortunate. It's almost impressive, because Bruno was already the most widely panned part of Kamala's comic.
Yeah.
And they somehow made him blander. It's almost impressive.
I do like that it's like there's the whole like romance aspect of it. It's very funny that Kamala in the first season, which only has 6 episodes, she gets 3 love interests. So like Bruno's like very much out of the picture as far as like an actual love interest by the end of it. I do like that they don't kill Kamran. They don't make him a villain. I think that's fun. He's just like fucking weird and like angry teenager. Blah 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 blah. Because it's like they do stuff with it that I think is interesting, but it's probably very different from what the comic versions are.
Oh, everything is. You can just change all the names, and this is an original show.
That might have been better for it.
Which is why what I would have preferred. Like, just
because there is a lot of interesting stuff there, and I think there's a lot of like very worthwhile things there. Because I know a lot of people who are like Muslim who watch that show and are like, I feel very represented by this, but they might not be fans.
And they wouldn't if they read the comic.
They probably would be. I don't know how much. Because apparently there are little things like the shoe thief that apparently a lot of people, they're like, yeah, that happens a lot in my mosque, which is an episode 2 thing that like they find very relatable. Little things like that, which are just like are not in the comic itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Are you saying they wouldn't like have those feelings reading the comic? Like it always feels weird
I'm not
to me
saying they
when
wouldn't.
Like you have both products in front of you, which one are you going to choose? And most people are going to choose the TV series because it's easier.
I was gonna say it's
And that's
easier.
annoying.
Yeah, no, that definitely is.
Because it's like,
I
at
don't.
the end of the day, no matter what anyone says about the TV series, it is a worse product than the comic.
That's probably correct, and I'm not even gonna say it's probably correct. It is correct, just from what I've seen, because like superhero stuff is so badly managed. But I will say, from everything I've read and seen, the like Muslim aspects of it are very good in a way that is very rarely seen
Sure, but I would expect
in
that.
media.
It's Kamala. If you're gonna get anything right.
No, it's Kamala, but like also the choice to make like the government like the big bad of that season, and like the fact that like again the government is like trying to infiltrate a mosque to like find out like what's going on with this character, not her specifically, part of it, and how like awkward that is because it is a mosque and like all of the representatives like they're very quick to point out the history with that without it being too obnoxious. There's little touches that are interesting, and I feel like if you remove the superhero aspect, or even like not even removed it but downplayed it and made it a lot more low stakes, would have benefited from it. I know you have issues with this movie, but I love Spider-Verse because of how small it feels in scale.
Yeah, but I also get that, like, you just, you don't understand. So.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's correct.
Like, the loss of what, like, how they adapted that. Like, what is actually lost in translation.
But how would you adapt that into a movie, I suppose?
It's now 2 movies. We've fixed it.
Okay.
You have the Spider-Verse plot be second film, and you have the actual Miles origin story be a film on its own.
Which is fair.
Granted, unlimited budget, we have a 5-season TV series with Peter Parker, and then kill him at the end.
Right. And I feel like part of the issue is that, like, trying to draw people into your film, that's going to be hard to do, which is a shitty thing.
Well, yeah, like, I get that Miles does not pull people in. As much as people try to say he does, fuck you, none of you have read the comic, he does not pull people in. Like,
no, he doesn't.
No one cares about Miles.
Well, there's even people who have read the comic, who love the comic, who actually really dislike Miles. And I realize that you really like him and relate to him, and like how quiet he can be. A lot of people really dislike that about Miles, and they feel like the movie did a better representation, like giving him a personality, which of course means that
that's
he's
just people just
completely
not
different character.
Miles. Like, that's just they don't like Miles, so they wanted a new Miles.
Yes, and that's what the movie does, for sure. It's not Miles. It's somebody who has the name of Miles who is not Miles.
Who still isn't called Spider-Man. Fucking bless. Let's keep this going forever.
I do like the Spider-Verse Miles, though. He's fun.
Yeah, he's fun, but that's the weird part. Like, Miles himself shouldn't be fun. That's not the point of that character.
Which is like a bad way to like make a movie out of.
I don't think it is. You can have him be depressing and still have like a compelling film. It may not be the most marketable thing in the world.
I was just gonna say, and the problem is that a lot of comic movies need to go for marketability. They don't need to. They've just
then you just cut Miles out of the project and make it Peter. Like, if you really want to be marketable.
I guess.
There's a reason why Peter's comics still sell better than Miles. Heck, there's a reason why, like, Gwen's comics sell better than Miles.
Have they adapted like Spider-Verse Miles into the comics yet?
He's this weird. So we have I almost said post-crisis, whoops, DC. We're in a post-reboot world for Miles, and we have been for like 5 or so years now.
Okay.
And he's just kind of... It never feels right. It's one of those
Right.
things where, like, Brian Michael Bendis's version of Miles was so consistently written in his personality that post-reboot, when writers are floundering between what his personality is, it feels worse in the long run.
Right.
Because it just feels like no one knows what they really want out of Miles, and so it ends up coming across as him just being a black Peter Parker, and that's not what we want. We want him to
No,
feel like
'cause, like-
Miles, like.
Right.
But the problem is that people don't like Miles, so.
No, and like a lot of people, like specifically a lot of people in the Black community, really like how he's portrayed in Spider-Verse and really hate how he's portrayed in.
Wow, I
Like,
hate when
as
he's
Miles
treated
in
as
the
a
comic.
human being with actual motivation.
I would say he has motivation in the films. I do think that, like, okay, this might be controversial. I do think that, like, they lean heavily into the black aspect. They do not lean as heavily into the fact that, like, he's also Latino. Like, it's there because he speaks Spanish sometimes. That's not really part of his, like,
Yeah, that's
existence.
like, that's
So-
always my issue when they try to lean into, like, Miles' race being the core aspect of his character, because I kind of hate that.
Yes.
Because now you're reducing him to just his race, and I'm against that.
Right.
Which is why I really liked that when Bendis wrote Miles, he was like a person first.
Right.
And,
And
like,
I think that a
his
lot of
racial aspects come up in how he interacts with, like, his family and how, like, communities treat him.
yeah. I
And
think
it's not
a lot
that's
of people,
not his motivation, though.
I think a lot of people wrote it off because obviously that's written by a white guy. But
Oh no.
I don't think that's necessarily. No, I know, and I realize that that is not something. Like, if you like a compelling character, it's a compelling character, and that should be like the most important thing.
Because that's always been the thing, is like, it's why I always say, like, the biggest successor to Spider-Man is Kamala. Because she did Miles' job
for
better
sure.
than Miles.
For sure. And I'm assuming, like, I think that Spider-Verse has a lot of that energy. Spider-Verse Miles, not comic book Miles.
Yeah.
But that does change who Miles is. Like,
Because
it
now you'll have
probably
people
should
that'll,
be
like, watch the movie, they'll go to the comics, and they'll be like, well, this isn't my Miles.
Right, exactly.
And now you've split the fan base again. You'll have people like, no, I hate the comic book version of Miles, and what about the video game version of Miles, who's completely different from the other two? So now you have it split in that direction too. And
okay, so I have a couple thoughts. Number one is, like, there were, like, even before the movie came out, a lot of people really didn't like Miles because of how, like, quiet he is.
No, people boycotted the comic and, like, everything.
Yeah.
Like, Miles' introduction, not a good look. Not because of anything in the comic, but because of, like, how fans reacted.
But number two, people, like, reading the comic after, like, oh, I love Spider-Verse, and being like, not my Miles. If they bought it, that's already, like, upping their numbers, because comic book fans and movie fans are so, like, separate.
You're implying they bought
like,
it.
No, I get it. I just, like, those are completely separate audiences. Like, there is, like, almost zero overlap, which I realize that comics have been, like, desperately trying to get those movie fans because, like, again, the movies are so successful. It's like, why can't we be successful too? And it's like, no, those are different things. A lot of comics actually have, like, meaning to them. Like, you're writing it for a purpose. A lot of comics are just, like, the comic book movies are just, like, we need, like, a slot to fill. It's not writing it for a purpose. I do think, like, movies,
I know that, like, it's weird that comic books have this, like, weird stigma of, like, oh, it's, like, child wish fulfillment. Those things have some of the most, like, biting edges in its storytelling. Like,
they do.
I'm not even any medium.
and I've read some of them. Like I haven't read a lot. I have not read anywhere near as much. And at least part of that is because like the financial investment to even just continually, like even if it's not much, it's still like something where I'd have to pay per issue, and I just do not have the money for that. And I realize they have like subscription services now, but I like having, like, if I'm gonna read a comic, I want to have a physical version of it. It just does not feel good to like read a comic digitally. I will if I need to, but it's not the same experience.
I didn't like it when I was like a kid, and then I like got over it. Of like reading digital comics.
Do you still pay for
There's
them?
some really nice webcomics
Yeah.
out there.
Okay.
I still like, if I like a comic that I've read, I could then go to the store and purchase it.
Oh no, because that is what ended up happening to me with Sandman. Because I only bought like the first 3 issues and then I read the rest digitally. But I eventually bought like a set because somebody was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just getting rid of this," and I spent like $100 something. It was like $150 to buy the entire hardcover set. This is not the like Omni book collection. This is like the original hardcover set before they like redid the colors for the Sandman. I'm just like, this is so gorgeous in this series. Like I want to support it. Obviously this is not going to them directly, but I still am like paying somebody who did buy it directly. And oh my god, that collection is so good. I hate the digital recolors for Sandman. I think it's really terrible, but that's a separate issue. I just really hate the color choices they've made that completely change the mood. Which I guess like, here's the thing. I feel like I make fun of you a lot, Josh. And then when I actually have actual experience, like with Sandman, where they're like, "Oh, here's the new updated version, and we've like changed the colors for this to be like more accurate," and I'm just like, "You've totally changed the spirit. You've changed the tone. Like, I don't care if the content's the same. The color just changes everything about it. What the fuck are you doing here? This looks bad. What's your problem?" And it's just like, oh right. I can make fun of you all I want, but I'm the same way when I've experienced it myself.
Well, that's what knowledge will do to you.
Yeah.
And I just refuse to be ignorant about things, so like...
Yeah. I don't believe that's true. I feel like you are
Anytime I care
knowledgeable about the
something,
things.
I will research it
You
to
were
like the
okay.
nth degree.
I'm gonna say you are knowledgeable about the things you care about, but if something like adaptations, there are people who like the comics as much as you, but who vastly prefer the adaptations that you just reject wholeheartedly.
That is not true.
Like their opinions. Okay,
I give
because
every
there's, like,
adaptation a fair shot when I watch it. I call it like how it is.
Okay. Because there are people who, like, I'm specifically thinking of people of forums I'm a part of who have stupid knowledge of comics, who really do like Spider-Verse, who like Miss Marvel, who have
there
issues with
will,
the Marvel.
though, statistically speaking. Like, that's not...
Yes. No, I know. It's just like their knowledge is scary. They can pull up like almost any fact, but they're also like generally cool people, not like super nerds in like the fact that they're like, "Oh, but this is how the comic did it, so I just reject everything about how they're adapting it," where they're like, "No, I actually like what they're trying to do with this." And so like I try to mix my opinion with theirs and what you're saying. So like the fact that like what you're saying with Miss Marvel, with like I do think that it was written by people who are like, "Oh, thank God we can use this like comic character to tell a story that's relevant to us." It really does like hurt the superhero aspect and does hurt the adaptation, because I think it's a really good story, but it's not necessarily like a superhero story, and you can really tell based on like when they're dealing with a family versus when they're dealing with the teenage drama shit, when they're dealing with the superhero stuff. Because the family stuff, A+ for me. The like teen drama is probably a B. The superhero stuff is like an F. It's really bad.
I wish I liked
But
the
the
family scenes in like the adaptation, but in episodes 1 and 2 they were so bad.
I feel like that's based off of your knowledge of the comic, though. And I'm not judging
it's
it based
really
off of
annoying when they start to adapt a scene that is from the comic, and as soon as the comic would start actually talking about the characters and their motivation, they would cut the scene.
So, like, some of the stuff you were talking about, like, I remember you being, like, really frustrating that they weren't talking about the Muslim aspect in episode 1, and a lot of that stuff was, like, in episode 2, including something that I don't think you talked about really, which was, like, Nakia being like, I hate how, like, people treat me because, like, I look white, but I'm not, which is something that I very much relate to.
Well,
Based
yeah,
on
it's
my
because
family,
like
where
when I
most
look
of
at
my family-
Nokia, I'm like, oh, they made a really cool original character here for the TV
Yes.
series.
Right,
I wish
and
Nokia
like
was here.
even the stuff with like the awkward teenage things, like the light, like it acts like acne does, but they just do it in a different way that's very separate from how they approach the topic in like the comics,
Yeah, and that sucks.
where it's like, yeah, because like Nakia sees what's going on and she's like, here, do you want a tampon? Like she thinks it's just like, oh,
It's like,
she's
would
just dealing
you
with
do
puberty
that
shit.
with like Superman or Batman? Just be like, here's a new like thing for you.
I feel like it wouldn't be as like much of a problem because there's already so many adaptations. Whereas with Miss Marvel, you're not gonna have that. It's like here's maybe their one shot
Well,
to
it's
do
like
something
here
with
we
his
want to
character.
adapt Aquaman, right? But we want to like make sure that he has a fiery personality. Let's give him fire powers.
Yeah,
It may work for the story you're doing, but like for the character, it's like, what the fuck are you doing?
right.
And like that's what it feels like in that one.
I feel like it wouldn't bother me. Like I feel like what you're saying is very valid. If it didn't affect the comics at all, I would feel more comfortable with just enjoying it as it is. It affecting the comics, I think, is like
Boy, I sure do miss reading my monthly Kamala comics.
yeah. I think that's actually very stupid. But they're gonna do what they're gonna do. So like it does make like me liking something feel a lot worse. Because I'm just like I want to like this for what it is, but I do know that like me liking this for what it is could potentially change how the comics are written, and I don't want that to be the case. Because at least for Miss Marvel, a lot of that is just people who are like, let me just try and adapt this the way that I would want to tell my story. And I think that's interesting. I don't think that that's how they would adapt that into the comics. I think they would be like, okay, so this is what they did for, the Marvel, the MCU version. So let's do the most corporate like removal of that. Like let's just try to match that as much as possible and remove artistic intent as much as possible, just so it looks similar. Which is just
Oh, they've done
frustrating.
government plots within Miss Marvel before. That's not like
No, I'm not talking about government plots. I'm just talking about like specifically all the creators they got for Miss Marvel were people who were Muslim. I know the mother. I'm not talking about like the mother who is like Indian and like that was controversial. Like I did read up on that where it's just like, ugh. But like the actual creatives behind it, like the directors, the writers, they got a lot of people who were Muslim who don't usually have a chance to tell their story. And I do think like them using this character to try and tell their vision or their experiences growing up is interesting and worthwhile. Even if it's not necessarily
sure, but
the
you
same
can do
character.
both though.
Yes, you can, but like I feel like because it's so like removed and not typical for you to even have that chance, let alone that chance with a budget, even if that budget is limited enough to where Miss Marvel like obviously does not have the powers she should have. Like you're gonna take that chance
like,
and do something with it.
They have done
But like
both. It's called the comics. Where both creators,
Yeah,
like both people who wrote the series, like both put their
right.
personal experiences.
No, I know, I understand that, but like specifically, I've heard a lot of talk about like the original series because the original one was somebody who converted to being Muslim later on in her life. She was not raised in that culture, whereas the series was people who were raised in that culture and people who are watching it have that experience of being like, oh shit, this reminds me of my childhood, which they don't necessarily get from the comics themselves because there are little moments they add to the series that are very specific to people who did grow up with that as just being like the normal
Sure,
thing.
my problem still stands. Make a better show. Because you can just do both.
Like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I just don't think that like I agree the superhero
Like you
part
can
was really
say
bad.
everything about like the motivation behind it and how beautiful it is. Like, yeah, cool, thumbs up. I still want a better product.
And I just think that the product itself, as far as to like family drama and the character and the team stuff, is mostly very good. The superhero stuff is really bad. I guess it's just from you like having experience with the original content and it's like how it's supposed to go or how it was like originally shown, and how that affects the character and the character's dynamic.
Well,
Uh,
do you think you would like do you think you would be the same way
what do you mean?
if you read the comic first?
Not necessarily. So, because this does happen sometimes with adaptations, where like, specifically, I'm gonna bring up Neil Gaiman's, oh god, what's it? American Gods, where Neil Gaiman was getting frustrated because the adaptation wasn't very, like, it wasn't the most accurate thing in the world. But the creator for the television series was doing it in a way where he was just like trying to get to the essence of each of the characters. So like you had like a character like Anansi who was coming from Africa and was like starting to talk about slaves and going to this whole thing. It made it like very gay, to the point where he booted that creator post season one because it wasn't close enough to the books. But what they were doing was very interesting for the medium itself. And I do know that book series, and I thought it was really interesting the changes they were doing to make it feel more authentic, and more like going off of that concept of American gods, which is basically just like the things that we worship as like in American culture. Like he was like not necessarily trying to do the most traditional interpretation. He was taking that base level and going off of his own experiences of it. And I thought that was really fucking interesting and worthwhile as a different adaptation, as in like an interpretation. But the original
Just make
author
your own
didn't like
show
that.
then.
But like so like that's where like I think we're always gonna disagree on that aspect. Because I think that just taking that's worthwhile. And whenever you're making an adaptation, you don't necessarily want to make exactly what was shown because you already have that original thing. You don't want to just do a like for like thing because that original thing is always going to exist.
No, it won't.
Obviously there were issues, like Silent Hill.
Like that is
where
just
it's
an
like,
incorrect statement to say the original will always exist, because it won't.
it won't, but if you look for it, there's almost always an avenue to
Culturally,
find
it's
it.
gone now.
Not necessarily.
No,
Like-
that's
like,
that's
you're-
pretty true. Because
with
once you
Final
make
Fantasy
something
s-
else, you do completely change the cultural impact of the original, because you will never be
that's-
able to consume it by itself.
Right, but like, so like Final Fantasy VII Remake, obviously that makes a lot of changes.
Yeah,
And it's
the
not
original
as
is gone
complete
now.
as good. Yes, but it had 25 years or so where that was the whole vision.
It got
influence the
ruined a lot
culture.
earlier than that.
It did, but people didn't really like pay much attention to Advent Children, to like fucking dirge of Cerberus to Crisis Core. People probably paid more attention to Crisis Core than they should have, but
No, like you'd be surprised.
no, I do get it. People who are like don't understand, but like
because you have like
still did have its time.
You have like Star Wars. Does the original film exist in the context that it was made? No.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yes.
You can't watch that movie and say like, oh, it's really cool that like Luke and Vader aren't related.
No, but you can still see how it impacted things of its time, and for the decades and movies around its release, you can still have that impact while realizing that, like,
will the average
other
person,
things later on.
Not me,
it doesn't
a person
really
who
matter.
researches thing.
It doesn't really matter because those things have already been made.
Doesn't matter?
It does. It does to the like decades of content that already exist that were based off of only having that knowledge, only having that original like experience.
Yeah, so only that
because
generation
you do have
gets to keep that.
Yes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't erase that context because you could also be inspired by things that were inspired by that without you even necessarily realizing that's where it's coming from. And it's still affecting things to this day.
But that doesn't have to deal with like the actual like perception of the thing.
It does change it, but I feel like Star Wars is a bad example because
that one's a great example because you cannot view that movie how it was originally created. That as a piece of art when it was made as the film Star Wars does not exist anymore. It's the same way with Final Fantasy VII. How you were meant to interpret those pieces of work doesn't exist.
I don't know how true that is. And I also don't even know how, like, even if that is correct, I don't know how bad that is because, again, it had, like, a long enough reign as an influence that it's
Didn't
fine
it have,
for
like,
people to
3
come
or
at it
4
with it.
years?
It was longer than that. People, like, will talk about Final Fantasy VII and ignore Advent Children, will ignore everything that happened in the extended shit.
Not in the
There's a lot
actual
of people-
conversations about it.
If you go into the deep fandom, sure, it's weird. If you go into people who are making shit based off of it, yeah, that shit's still influential.
But I'm not talking about the influence, it's how the thing existed. How this piece of art exists within the world.
Right, but that's inevitably going to change. You can't keep something like as it is forever. And it's like the further you get away
well, you
from
can
that
like
time
the
period,
perception of it will change, but the thing like will stay.
yes, and that still exists.
For some things, but it depends on what's connected to it.
But like that connection, like I don't understand what your argument is.
I also don't understand yours. So like this is just a thing we'll never agree on.
Like I do get that because I don't think we're ever gonna agree on this. But like,
but I also just assume that like you coming from a place of like you just love the thing that you saw. And that's the end of the story.
no, not necessarily. I do love certain things. Like I do really love Persona. Like Persona 5. I really appreciate it, and I admit that I don't have the full
consumed.
context.
Like,
yes.
But that's how you always talk about things.
But I don't think like objective. I don't think that like oh god, this is getting into like a very philosophical level. Looking at things objectively is very like I feel like that's a fool's errand.
It's not.
It's
because
not
we're both
to
doing it
certain
for
people.
different reasons.
Right.
I'm doing it to understand a technical mastery of the thing, like, so that I can be better.
I suppose it's true, but like I
don't think that's something that like you'll do.
I would say that it is something that I would do, but I look at things like, so you are an artist first and foremost, whereas I look at things from a writing standpoint. Because again, I know I don't post a lot of shit, and admittedly, recently I haven't done a lot of shit, but like I used to write more, and again, I have helped friends write stuff, and I mostly am like, when I do work, it's mostly as a ghostwriter. I helped my friend have like shit shown at the Cannes Film Festival, which is like an actual physical thing. Where like people in the audience didn't necessarily get it, but the people who from the industry did get it.
So what I mean is like
yes,
at the start of the conversation, what I'm trying to get at is like, for the most part, when you consume media, it seems like you do it for yourself.
No, I try to understand what it is trying to convey to me. Whether that is accurate to what the original vision is saying doesn't even enter the conversation.
I'm not even like talking about adaptations with this. I'm just talking about in general. It seems like you are very for self, very insular in that way. That's what I always get when you talk about stuff.
I can understand why you would think that. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand what this piece of media is trying to tell me. What this piece of media is trying to sell to me, what it is trying to explain, and I am not looking at it from like, if it is an adaptation, I completely ignore the fact that it's an adaptation. I'm just like, what is this on its own, removed from everything else? What is this as a product in and of itself? What is it trying to say to me? And I don't think that you necessarily respect that because you have experience.
Oh no, I totally like. I do. That's why I criticize the Ms. Marvel series. I don't think it's very good by itself. I think it has like cool ideas. I don't think it's a very good television series.
Which I completely okay. I was gonna say I completely disagree. I actually agree with you a lot. That's my like. That was
because
my
for me, it has nothing to do with how much it's telling, but how well it's doing everything.
Well, I would say it's doing it very well. It's maybe not necessarily like a good adaptation of Ms. Marvel. It's very bad as a superhero show. It's very good at the family drama, which I realize that you are frustrated with because you have knowledge of what it's like taking from, but without that knowledge, what it's trying to tell to me as a shorthand.
No, I have enough experience in this field to be like, I can judge this as a teen drama. I think it's mid at best there.
Well, I don't think it's trying to be necessarily a teen drama. That's where it's like,
then
I do think it's used as a product.
Is it not a drama?
Shut.
It's
shut. Are you both enjoying this conversation right now?
Not at all. Selkie, what do you think about the thing?
I have no idea.
Did you watch it? Okay, Spain, answer the question.
What I think it's trying to be is it's trying to be an interpretation of the people who are creating it, their experiences, trying to put onto.
Wouldn't that be a drama though, by default? As a genre that it's being put in.
Yes.
Then there we go.
You're saying it's just you're specifically saying it's a teen drama only, and it's not what I am getting from
the reason why I say that, it's a drama, correct?
Yes.
It is aimed towards a teenage audience.
No, I don't agree with that.
How is it not aimed towards a teenage audience?
Because Marvel is much broader than that. It's like, regardless if it's focusing on a teenager.
Fine, it is a drama. I'm saying teen drama to be reductive. How about that?
Okay. Yes, that's fair.
There we go. Problem solved.
And I'm just like, I refuse to be reductive ever.
You're reductive all the time. What do you mean? You do it to be funny.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But usually when I'm when I'm trying to be funny, that's an acknowledgement that that's not like the correct like opinion to take from it. That it's just being reductive with it.
Sure, and when I say teen drama, I do just mean like a drama, but I say teen because I know it riles people up.
That's fair.
See how that works?
I do, but like I've seen so many people on the other end of it who are very like serious about the fact that like, no, this is just a product for teenagers. I have zero interest in ever watching it because it's for teenagers only, and I'm just like,
Oh yes, because I definitely seem like the person who would do that.
I don't know though with you sometimes. I actually can't get a read on you a lot of the time.
I don't know, I think I'm a pretty open book.
I I know you do. And I just I'm like, I don't know that like I can agree with that. You are very open, but like when you are sarcastic, it comes across the same way as when you are being like honest.
I don't know, I've met people who can like sort out that pretty well.
Okay. Yes, but that's also people who are easily influenceable. So like what I mean by that is like I love Darian so much. I love him. He's the best. Uh he is very easily influenceable to where like you can just say something and he'll just agree with it. And
Oh, that's
not
Darian.
a bad
That's
thing.
a Darian issue. Like,
No, I know. But that's how I understand you, is because that's like I either have our conversations or I'm watching a video where Darian is part of it. So like he offers no arguments whatsoever. He's just like, yeah, that sounds right. So it's hard for me to gauge is. I don't really have like a third person. I realize there is the Life is Strange shit. But I haven't watched that fully to like see if that even like does be like if that's like the Rosetta Stone to fully understand what's going on.
you know,
And
I
that's just what
definitely
the fuck in
can't
here.
bullshit Issa. He always knows when I'm being sarcastic or not.
Okay. And to be fair, so much of me is based off of facial reactions that I can only go off your tone and how you're saying things. And like
From what
I
I've
can
heard from people, they say it's harder to read me in person. Which is the funniest shit I've ever heard.
That's usually how I am good at reading people, because even if there are people who like they're like, I don't understand this person, I'm fairly good at reading them because I can see tells. When it's just a voice thing, it's much harder for me to just be like I can kind of pick up on it, but also the way you're talking to me is very like similar to like how you talk to Darian, where it's like Darian will be like, oh yeah, I see that, and I'm just like, no, that's not like how I'm gonna react to it. So like I'm immediately like defensive because I like see how easily Darian folds, and I'm like, no, that's not me. I'm not like that. So I'm probably more aggressive than I would normally be, because of how easily Darian folds.
It's because Darian just knows
Which
that
is
I'm like right more often than not. And if he doesn't have citations to back up any argument he has, he knows he'll lose immediately. Because I have definitely been petty enough to even have statistics prepared for arguments.
And I believe that. And I just don't even care about that a lot of the time.
Yeah, but then at that point, it's just your personal opinion.
It is, but a lot of my personal opinions are based on like many people's opinions and my own initial reaction. And I try to like get like
yeah, and I get that's the issue that I don't respect that.
And I think that's
without
fair.
any given knowledge on the thing. It's like, wait, you haven't researched your thing? Because I've definitely just told you straight up why a product is something, like why it is the way that it is, and you'll be like, I don't think so. When I'm like quoting the director.
Like what?
What? Plenty of things. Xenoblade, For one thing, that was a fun conversation where it's like, oh, thing is like this because of X, and you're like, no.
I mean, that's fair. I'm unlike anti. Like, Xenoblade 2 turned me off of the series so much. And I do recognize that that's my
you
own
did play it
bias.
dubbed.
I know. And that is my fault. Again, I've like this is my problem. It is so experiential because again, I I have very physical reactions to people watching Madoka Magica dubbed, which is actually honestly, from what I've heard, not a bad dub. It's just like I know the sub version, like the original audio, so well at this point that like hearing the dub, it just feels wrong.
Because like for me, it's like I almost don't care about personal opinion, because like that's a personal opinion. You can't argue that.
Right.
I'm not going to argue someone's personal opinion because that's theirs. I'm not going to argue that.
Right. And so like for me, whenever I see a film, I have my take on things, but I will watch it usually with 3 or 4 fan groups if I really enjoy something. If I don't enjoy something, or I'm just like, I think I get this, I will watch it once. But like when I watched Tangled and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good, I watched it with 3 or 4 different friends that were from completely different groups just so I could get their opinion on things. And every single time it was a different experience because their experience of it was very different from my own and very different from the people I had already seen it with. And so I try to find the connective tissue between all of those. And then that's what my ultimate take is, which is, it is experiential, but it is also based off of like multiple people's thoughts. So like I can't ever take one person's thought as like definitive, and I also can't take like what you're saying is like, yes, the director can say something, and I write that off because I feel like directors can say something, but it also reminds me very much of like authors like being like, no, this is the theme of my book. But like when an author is writing something, they're not writing it in a vacuum. They're influenced by things around them, whether they realize it or not.
But that still means
so,
that the intended theme is what they said. And for me,
it is, but sometimes
is time to judge it based on that. How well did they accomplish what they set out to do?
Okay. And that for me is extremely hard to do because I'm always like, what is the context outside of this? Where it's like, why did you write this? What is the external factors that influence this?
Yeah,
that, like,
but that's all just fluff.
You can. And I don't think that that's fluff. I think that is like inherently part of it. I think that's
so
like a cultural
I consider
thing.
that motivation, where I'm like, oh, this is the motivation behind the work, but that does not inform the quality of the work or how well it's doing. It just gives you context for what the work is.
I suppose so. I guess I can understand that opinion. It's not something that I can ever fully subscribe to. The whole death of the author thing is like very much like I feel like what you're doing is also like it's a mixture of death of the author and also acknowledging like the author's like role in it as being like the final say.
You have to me, I'm just like when you're like studying art, you have to take it from all sides.
Yes, and that's what I do. I take it from both what the artist is like trying to say, but also like how it's received, because how it's received is also just as important to me. Because like it can be like
that a separate thing. That's like extra bonus homework, but I don't consider that part of like how well something truly does.
Okay.
Because now you're getting into you're now going into too many variables of like, okay, so audience like thing. Okay, but what's the breakdown of that audience?
Right, which is like and for me, that's inherently part of it.
That's we can't actually research that well because that's not always reported.
No, and it's definitely not, which is why usually my experiences are like, here's like multiple friend groups that I have. I'm bringing it to them so that I can like gauge
that's
their
less
reactions.
Than a 100 percentile. That'll never actually be approved in an academic journal.
No, it definitely wouldn't be, but like I also value that more so that I can gain different experiences and try to like form an opinion based on those experiences. So like it's not just my own opinion, because you're always saying like it's very experiential for me. It is, but it's not just my own experiences. I
But that's
try to
still
take in
experiential, though.
the
Getting
experiences
better.
of others. It is for sure, but I also take in what the author is trying to say, and what the author is doing. I just don't necessarily say that they are the final word on it.
Well, they're not. And they are. It depends on the argument.
Oh my god. Okay.
But that's how that works. So, it's art. It's multifaceted. You do the thing.
Yeah. Which again, I don't think less of you for thinking of this way, and I think you realize that, which is why I can be like with you. But like, I do appreciate your perspective, as annoying as that probably is to you, because again, your takes are just another one of the different takes that I'm considering when I'm trying to judge a piece of work. It is just
I mean,
as
that is
valuable
like
as other
insane
people's
to me to be
opinions.
like, ew, trusting other people for their opinions. Gross.
Well, I don't. It's like I have my own opinion, but I take my opinion in consideration with others, and I will say sometimes my opinion trumps theirs, but not always.
Well, it statistically will.
I feel like that's a personal thing.
I don't know. Do we have the statistics on that? Every opinion you've ever had and whether or not yours trumps any recorded piece of thing?
Well, I guess
I'd be willing
like
to
okay,
bet it
if
would
we're
be
going.
above a 50.
So, what I'm going with Echo, I'm very much against like a lot of people's takes on Echo. I think I have a very different understanding of Echo than a lot of people do. Because people fucking hate Flynn. If we're gonna get this here, uh, people really
Well, yeah, that's
hate Flynn.
their emotional experience.
Yes, and for me, I'm just like, no, Flynn is like it's established early on that Flynn and Carl just have like a weird relationship, but like that's just their normal. That doesn't mean he's a bad person. This is just him basing off of like their previous relationship, and like everything that happens in his group is like shows that like he is very understanding and reacts to other people. So for me, he is a very caring person. For others, he is not. He's one of the most assholish characters. He's one of the like most offensive characters, and I just do not get that vibe like from him. I can understand where it's coming from, but I disagree completely. So what I'm saying is that like, and I think that's intentional. I think it's intentional that like the characters that are like very easy to get along with are not necessarily like correct. They're very like they have a lot of issues externally from that. So I don't think that like my opinions necessarily match with like the community. I will listen to them, I will understand their experiences, but I will also like go based off of my own understanding. This is also how I interpret other other pieces of art. So like when I am disagreeing with you, it's not just based on others or even necessarily my experience. I am trying to understand what the artist is trying to say. I will admit, you have a very large focus on visuals. Not even large focus. It's part of it. Whereas for me, I'm very much focused on the writing. I focus on the writing more than basically anything else. And that's because that's what I'm used to. I'm used to like helping people with script writing. I'm used to helping people with like writing novels. I am like never usually the person creating original stuff myself, but I am very good at like understanding what a person is trying to say with their piece of work, trying to get it there. And like again, I've helped people win awards. Anytime I've helped people like write their media under whatever guidelines it is, it usually wins first place. So like I understand like the intent of a piece and how to get to where people are going to respond to it. So for me, And I realize this is not necessarily normal, but it's how I interpret an artist's work based on what they're trying to say. And I do interpret how others say as a potential, like, maybe I just don't know. And if that's the case, and admittedly, you are probably right in that I'm not, informed enough in shit like Miss Marvel, where maybe I would have a like a different opinion if I was more informed, because you've seen how passionate I am with like Flynn, and maybe that comes across as very different. Where I'm probably a little bit more like I am very dominant in my opinion of Flynn. I am very extreme in my opinion of Flynn, whereas I'm probably a little bit more submissive in my opinion of Miss Marvel. Because you know what, I probably don't have the knowledge, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I feel out of my element judging it based on what the creators were saying their intent was. So you probably do have a point there, but I don't think it's like the complete point, and I don't think like it's just experiential. I do think I try to take into consideration what an author is trying to say, what a writer is trying to say. Maybe the art I don't take into consideration enough, but that is just a weakness of myself and my own priorities towards writing, which does apply to even like comics, where like the images themselves can be nice, but I will, focus on writing more than anything else because that's just my strength. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I think it probably does.
I think that's a pretty normal thing for most people, where they just go like, well, like I've had to read books in school, so they understand like a script more than like anything else happening in film.
I don't agree with that because I feel like scripts. Because I again, this is something where you will disagree with me. And we've talked about this a lot. I think The Last Jedi is like a fucking phenomenal script. It doesn't necessarily translate well when you're looking at the actual visuals or the movie itself, but I think the script itself,
well, yeah,
and
that's
even
why
the
I
issues
say
that people,
the film is bad.
I still think it's good because the script is that strong, but it's not great.
So that doesn't. I've never agreed with that opinion. Like, if a thing is not working, if a part of your film isn't working, then I will not call it good.
I guess
we can say the script is good, and then we have to move on because like that's the thing that movie has going.
I hear people like argue with that film about like why it's not good, and they will say things like the romance with Rose and like how it is, and like the
but that's just normies not understanding like film though.
Okay, if your arguments are separate from that, that's fine because I get frustrated.
Do you think my arguments for that film are as simple as I don't like Rose or Man Who Sweats is boring?
No, I do feel like the Canto Bite shit might annoy you, but like,
which one was Canto Bites?
Canto Bite is like when they go to the like gambling planet, which is very much like where it's like it's extremely integral.
Why do you think I would dislike that?
Because it's just the typical thing people dislike.
Oh, okay. I love that section of the film.
No, it's again, for me, having watched it and rewatched it, it's one of the most important parts of the film, and people are like,
my criticism is that I don't think it works that well in a film. It's a really important sequence for what the writer is trying to do, but it feels too constructedly episodic. And if this was like a 6-episode miniseries, that would have been an episode, and that would have fit better.
I suppose that's fair. That's not a bad take. I do think that that's more of a criticism of the sequel trilogy rather than the film itself. But
I think that's like me criticizing the format and how like the person is like utilizing it.
I just don't think there's a good way of getting that information across.
I
Without
always think
that.
there is a great way to. You just have to figure it out. And I wasn't in the writer's room, so I don't know what the other ideas were on the table, but I can 100% there had to have been a better way to deliver that information. I
guess
know
how many times have you seen that film? It's just my question. And I realize this is a stupid question because with blockbusters you really should be able to understand everything on your first viewing.
Once, but I don't watch films multiple times.
Okay, so
because I'll usually I would say that memorize the I have like memorized script in full. I can usually recount full movies after watching it once. That's less of a flex, more like I'm a bad person. So.
No, I do understand that, but I would say like for me that scene seemed long the first time, and when I watched it a second time, I was like, oh, that scene is like actually very short in the film overall.
Yeah, no,
it's actually once you know what's happening. It's like it's really
because that's not my
that much
problem.
Of
It's more the jarring pace of going to too many locations. It's a structure issue. Where like you're asking too much from your audience to take in too much information in too many locations, and you'll lose people that way. And I view that as a fault inherently, because as a writer you should understand that and try to work around that.
So I do understand what you're saying. I guess
like there must have been a better way to do it. I still like the product and how like it was done, but there must have been a better way to deliver it, because I always believe there is.
I guess what I'm saying is that like for me it personally works, especially on a second viewing. On the first viewing, yeah, it's problematic, but I guess what you are saying is that like the people who are complaining about it don't understand why they're complaining about it.
That's always how it is. It's always a lack of information about the thing, because an everyday chode is not an art critic.
Okay, no, that's actually a very fair
like they won't understand why a thing like isn't working. They'll feel that it isn't working well enough, but they won't understand why.
Right. You know what? I can agree with that, especially because they could have worked in the mole subplot. They could have put in that character into the actual like ship without introducing a new location.
Yeah, like there's so many ways they could have delivered this information that would not bother the audience you know is going to be watching the movie.
Right. Because a lot of them are like, oh, it just felt too much like the prequels, which for me feels especially stupid because, again, a lot of Rose's character, I actually really like Rose.
I like how the character is constructed. I do feel like the film flails her to an extent. Because of how condensed parts are, she gets lost in parts of the movie, and that shouldn't happen.
And I guess that for me, viewing it a second time, because I did have that feeling the first time, the second time I was like, "Oh, this is actually really great."
No, so like all the scenes that are there are good, but it's because of how the film is paced and sequenced. An average person will lose her.
No, and that makes sense.
And I think that's an issue, because that is something a writer should consider. And something that the director needs to consider, and they have to like figure out a way so that doesn't happen.
So what I was going to say is that like the writer and director are obviously this time are the same person. They do consider it, but instead of like changing the script for it, what they do is they introduce like if you watch it a second time, every question you might have is addressed early on. But like, if you're not going to watch it a second time, people are just not going to even notice that.
If you've already like lost them the first time, like you've disengaged your audience, and that come on, you're a director. You should
which I don't agree is a bad thing. I do think that is a problem.
It's not a bad thing for a regular piece of art, but it is a bad thing for a commercial product if you want it to like be understood and successful. And these are different expectations you have to think in mind.
Which I do think that he wasn't viewing this as a commercial product, which it was probably part of the problem. he was viewing this as just like a normal film, and he put a lot of tropes in that are just like, oh, this is just a normal film. People will watch this more than once, and people didn't. Which
I was talking about this with my Star Wars friend Issa, and like when I was watching the movie and they went to the casino planet, I was like, this would have been great if this was in Clone Wars, because then this would have been an episode that was a break from the other locations for pacing reasons that also still contributed, but because it's slotted in a movie pacing, it feels more broken up than it should be.
So, I do understand that. I think that my criticism, now that we're talking about this, is that Rose is a really interesting character. And Rose specifically is very traumatized because her sister dies in the very beginning of the film. I do think they don't mention her sister dying enough later on, to the point that people get confused about like why her character is acting the way that she does. They just completely
I've
like
met people
ignore
who
her
said that they
sister.
forgot she had a sister, and that's an issue.
Yeah, no, that is because like they really should have mentioned that, because that's her entire motivation. The reason she's like acting like Finn is like a traitor is because her sister just killed herself for the resistance, and she's like, "How can you do this when my sister just died?"
Right?
For,
Oh, I'm sorry,
like,
Sati.
this
What
cause.
did you want to?
Oh no, I forgot that she had a sister.
Selkie.
Sorry.
No, that's like.
But see, that's
Like,
something
I
that
get
like the
it.
writer and director needed to consider.
No, it is, and the thing is, they do mention it visually because they both have necklaces, and they will sometimes refer to the necklace to be like, "Oh, this is a reminder that her sister is dead," but they don't ever like say it like in the actual script, which I do think is problematic, because I do think that like to make Rose a relatable character, you need to remind people, especially because it's Star Wars. What Star Wars is known to just be like very, very much on the nose. Unless you are like, again, Clone Wars or something where you have room to breathe. Even then,
Because that series does
like,
have like the subtlety to it, but yeah, that's it. They have the time to be like, we cannot
yes,
mention it this episode. We'll mention it again next episode.
right.
Like they have the freedom to do that. In a film, you don't.
Which I think in the film they were thinking, well, we mentioned it earlier on, and we have this visual representation. A lot of people aren't going to get that. You need to like actually physically say it, because again,
You
this
would
is
need
Star
to
Wars.
like
This is
have her
where-
because it was a necklace, right?
Yes, exactly.
You need to
exactly.
have her clutch it and then like say "oh, sister" or something, so that the audience
Yes,
can
no,
eternalize
because
that
yes.
symbol with that character.
Yes,
And that would
because
be
they
one
do-
line to insert. Like you can do that.
Yes, because they do have her clutch it. They don't mention her sister, and that is problematic, because I think that like, again, Rose, I think, is actually a very strong character. Whereas like her like decision at the end, rubs a lot of people the wrong way. But it's her realization of like, oh shit, no, my sister dying was actually like a bad thing. That's not what we actually want from this war. We actually want people to survive, people we care about to survive. But because it's not been established except for visually, which a lot of people don't like pay attention to that shit.
Yeah, but I think that's
We're going
less
to
of an
miss
issue
that.
with the audience and actually more of an issue with how the film is directed. Because sadly, at the end of the day,
yes.
this film has the name Star Wars.
No, and that's what I'm saying. It treats it like it's a film that like has like people who are gonna like actually care about it. But like when you have the precedents where you have like again, like the last films were like the prequel trilogy and the Force Awakens, where you have characters like, in my opinion, it's the Jedi who are evil, where you're like fighting on like a lava, where it's like you don't need to say that, but because like that's the precedence, where it's just like, okay, we're just gonna spell everything out as explicitly as possible. Rose needed to mention her sister like at least 2 more times, and she just doesn't, because it's like we're treating it with a subtlety that it's like, oh, people will understand what we're saying. No, they won't.
Because you always have to keep like an audience you're making for in mind. Like that's just like
Yeah.
a thing you have to do.
You really do, and I will admit that is a problem of that film.
Like, that's
as
the
much as I
reason why,
fucking
like, that is the
adore
sole
it.
reason why I say that movie isn't good. Is it just doesn't
Yeah.
communicate itself well enough. I like a lot of the shit in The Last Jedi, but it really, to be the product it needed to be for the audience it was meant for, it needed to do better.
Okay, what I'm gonna say is that, like, I feel like, and I think this is the problem with The Last Jedi. I like The Last Jedi because it's a bad product at what it's trying to do, because the things that it's trying to do are things that I appreciate, but it's not going to work as a Star Wars film. And I feel like if it did address those things, I would like it less.
Are you that petty?
I'm not that petty. It's just that, like, I feel like I would be being talked down to at that point, because I do not connect with, like, almost any other Star Wars film or any other Star Wars property where, like, every single time it's just talked down to me so much that I'm just like, I fucking get it. You don't need to say it.
Well,
but
yeah,
apparently we
it's
do.
a series for 5-year-olds. What do you want?
I want The Last Jedi, obviously, but that doesn't work for that audience. It works for me. It works wonderfully for me. But yeah, for that audience, no, it doesn't.
Cause, like, sure, like, are there like script things that I really disliked in that movie? Yes. It's nothing no one ever really mentions. And it's more just like pet peeves of, like, did we really need a Your Mama joke here?
What's okay? Is that the, like, what script things other than the Your Mama thing?
That's an
did
issue.
You not like?
That's an issue.
I feel like that is the Disney version of, like, oh shit, Marvel's really popular, we need to insert this. I don't necessarily even think that was a, like, fucking...
Yes, but it's in the
Ryan
final
Johnson.
product, and I would have to
I
deal with it every time I watch that movie.
I get it.
That's an issue. I remember one point I had to pause the movie for this and turn to my friend and go, like, I need an explanation. And that's when the first scene in which Rey, Poe, and Man Who Sweats interacts.
What? I don't remember this.
The very first scene they interact, they're like, hey, and then they start talking to each other as if they've known each other for months. And then at the end of the scene, they have Poe go like, oh, by the way, my name is Poe. What's your name?
Right, so I'm guessing this is towards the end of the film.
This is at the very beginning of the movie. So it's a scene... Oh, did Discord...
But, like, Rey isn't there at the beginning of the film. Rey
no, it's
already,
when they, like...
She's already on the planet with Luke.
No, there's a scene where, like, all three of them do interact. Towards the beginning of the movie.
But, like, that would happen... I feel like that can't happen because Rey is already on the planet. Like, there's almost no way that would have happened until later on in the film.
Maybe it was in the... But it is, like... It is the... Maybe it's not at the beginning, but it's the first scene the three of them interact in that movie.
Okay.
And it's this really weird sequence where they just talk to each other as if they've been talking
known each other, right?
And then you realize this is the first scene in which your main trio have interacted in this trilogy.
Right.
And that was just so jarring of a scene to be like, why are they chatting like this? And then they introduce each other after a scene like that. It is like one of the weirdest sequences in that movie. Because it's just this like, it feels like they expected the audience to already imagine how these characters interact and already imagine them as friends. Yeah. And so they just didn't actually have a build-up scene to how they would actually interact. So they're just already interacting. And I personally found that very jarring in the moment. Clearly it wasn't jarring to, like, anyone else. Because, like, no one talks about that scene. I have not seen a soul.
One of the problems with J.J. Abrams is you have Ryan Johnson being like, by the way, there's one scene that wasn't me. It was like he asked me to introduce this. This has never been revealed what Ryan Johnson was like J.J. Abrams was like, he told me I need to keep this in here as part of the plot. I don't know what that is, and I want to know because shit like that is like it feels out of place. Because I understand what you're saying. We're like, that's a weird thing to just like, oh, by the way, because like that character is very much like very introverted. They wouldn't be joking that way. Like
Like, it's so
Ray-
weird that Ray is like all buddy with Poe in that scene, and you're like,
yes,
they've never interacted. Shouldn't she be like,
yeah,
more like quiet-minded, very like
Yeah.
reserved?
yes,
And they're like calling each
Ray
other
would
buddy,
never do that.
and then they
Yes.
introduce each other at the end of the scene. And I'm like, this is so weird.
Yeah, that
But I
is
guess the
very
time
weird. I
delay
don't
in between the films
remember
being
that.
made, they're just like, the audience already thinks that these characters are friends because they've had enough like fan fiction time to like fill in.
Yeah,
the gap.
which is weird because that movie takes place like very quickly after.
It's like the next
original-
day.
After
Like-
Force Awakens. Yeah. Unlike the Rise of Skywalker, which is like, oh, by the way, much later, the dead can speak. Here, like, I hate Colin Trevorrow as like an actual director. I hate him so much. I hate that his movie would make more sense than J.J. Abrams did, just based on that script, even if it wasn't perfect. I like that's actually frustrating. How much more sense that film would make, because it would carry off of like what the original trilogy, like what Last Jedi was trying to do, and having like Finn actually be a prominent part of like a resistance, rather than just being like, "Hey Ray, I need to tell you something, Ray," and like
I
J.J. Abrams had to tell.
I
Yeah.
love how when I say man who sweats, people know what character I'm referring to.
I don't know what character you're referring to.
Oh,
I should, but I don't.
Like, Selkie, you know who I'm talking about when I just say simply man who sweats.
I literally asked in the YouTube chat who is Man Who Sweats, but now I know who Man Who Sweats is.
Yeah,
It's like
it's... I don't remember his name. He's man who sweats.
God.
No, was he part of the crew then at that point?
He's part of the main
Or was he
trio.
like,
It's Poe. It's Poe.
No, Poe is the, Wait, is that Poe? No, Poe's the flying one, right?
yeah, so you're talking about Finn?
Yeah,
Who?
man
Are you
who
talking about
sweats.
Finn?
I thought you meant
Okay,
No, go back and watch The Force Awakens. Look how many scenes he's just sweaty.
Nice.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
Aggressively sweaty.
So I do think that there is a problem with The Last Jedi in that, like, not The Last Jedi, sorry, The Force Awakens, and that like a lot of the marketing was like, look at Finn is actually going to be a Jedi, and then they're like, JK, it's actually Rey.
No,
and then they
they
blame-
showed off the marketing perfectly for him. They were like, look at this sweaty man. He's going to be sweaty for the whole movie. And I'm like, okay, you didn't lie to
No.
me, I guess.
No, but like they implied that he was going to be a Jedi, and then like people blamed The Last Jedi for being like, well, like Finn's separated from Rey for a lot of it, and it's like Finn is actually in a coma at the end of like The Force Awakens. It's just like, here's person of color in a like coma, which of course The Last Jedi ends with. Here's a new person of color in a coma, which is very embarrassing. Unfortunately, how J.J. Abrams is like, oh, okay, I guess that means we can just like include her in like a scene.
Messer,
For
what's
4
the
seconds.
Weeding story? What is it? What?
Yeah, Messer, come on, explain shit to us. Are you in voice chat right now? Because you need to speak. Because Josh and I have been talking
Yes,
too
he
much.
is.
Weeding?
Oh, hi.
Wedding. Oh.
Hello, Mister.
He's been here for a
Mickey.
while.
No,
Okay.
I
5 minutes.
joined here, heard you talk about the discussion, so I left.
Oh, facts.
I'm
Yeah, I
back.
noticed that.
Mesky?
Yeah.
Mesky? That sounds like Musky. Mesky? Hello. Welcome. Please
Hi,
speak.
friend.
I realize that I have a lot of pent-up energy because I've been gone for like a week or so. But like... And like, I just want to like yell at Josh. Like, it's fun.
I have only one question.
Yeah.
So, okay, what brand of fries are you using?
Would you
I've
have
been
the
waiting.
same brands?
We
I've been
do.
waiting. I've been waiting like half of the day for you to join me yesterday, and you were gone.
Oh my god, I couldn't join then. Hang on. Let me find
Like,
it.
Ian joined me, Sirius joined me, but you.
Sorry, I left you alone.
Okay, you guys can continue talking. I was just curious.
Wait. Well, Master.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this is separate from everything Josh and I have been talking
I
about
know.
because we've been like we've been like cats like fighting at each other, which is very fun. It's very hot because cats are cute. Ignore that. But like, so I posted something in response to Savage, in
Oh,
the Pervader server, and you just haven't responded at all. And like, we've had multiple people respond to it and being like, yes. Uh, and you're just like very silent. I just want to be
what?
like, hey, what do you mean, what? Because I
What?
posted a picture of the cows.
Yeah,
I posted a picture of those cows with those awful eyes, and I'm like, this has Messer energy, right? And people are like, no feet. And then I was like, okay, well, here's this picture of like a bear with feet. And
I'm
then like
sorry.
Carbon was like, oh yeah, that has like furry. This was drawn by a furry. I feel like you just haven't responded at all.
Yeah,
And I'm just very disappointed
the bait didn't
He
come.
because
doesn't need to respond.
You said
no,
people fame. You said people fame, but it was just Savage.
it was Savage and Carbon have responded.
The Caravan haven't responded to that. He responded to the bear picture, which is completely removed from the previous topic. Oh no, he has a foot. What the fuck?
That's
What
what
the
I'm
fuck
saying,
is...
Messer.
I haven't
Messer,
noticed it.
Messer.
Yeah.
You did notice it. Don't be like I didn't notice before. Like because people who are not in defeat
Listen.
are like, holy shit, that foot is like the most prominent part. If you're trying to be like, oh, I didn't notice the foot there, that is the first part that people who are not in defeat notice. So you trying to like pretend like feet are like not relevant to you, being like, oh, I didn't even notice the feet. Like that's the main part of the picture. I'm sorry, Master. It just makes you sound more desperate and more horny for feet. That's fine. Just own it.
I think your opinions on Star Wars are wrong.
Oh no, I get it. Most people agree with me. Some people agree. Sorry, most people agree with Josh. Some people agree with me, and I respect those people. I
Yeah,
also respect people who don't agree with me.
and
If
you're
they can
wrong
explain
about
it
the
correctly.
feet picture. No, listen. I don't I've seen those pics. Who is the creator of them?
Oh, the
What?
the gift shop.
The
Animals?
shop. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't look at those pictures because they are creeping me out, Fane.
Fane, did
What
you get
do
a
you mean?
citation on those pictures? Did you read the label and the artist?
Didn't see. I didn't see it.
What do you mean you didn't? That'd be the first thing I do.
I saw the pictures.
There is a signature. There is a signature, but I don't think it's
Josh?
visible.
Josh, I see what you're drawing right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like Vita is our baby. Like he's both of us. Like he like I feel
mean,
like what
he's
you're
baby,
drawing right now.
that's for sure.
He is. I feel like this is too innocent. He needs to be more angry. I don't know what he's angry about, but like right now he's just like dumbfounded. I feel like he needs to be, just based on our conversations tonight, he needs to be pissed off. He doesn't know why he's angry, but he is.
How about Zeke is threatening his Vita?
God, that's so sexy, those eyelids. Oh my god. Like his eyes look like eggs. He has eyes like hard boiled eggs. That's really hot.
Thank you for that reminder. Thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I need my eggs eaten.
You don't have
Messer,
an
when you
ex,
make hard-boiled eggs, how do you make them?
What do you mean? How do you make them?
Well, like, do you make them hard-boiled, soft-boiled, poached, medium? How do you?
Oh,
What is your boiled like preference?
I mean, yeah, I don't make poached. I mean, soft boil are the tastiest, but they are more annoying to eat. They're messy,
Right.
and you can eat like they are very annoying to prepare. You have to, yeah,
I
yeah.
guess I'm sorry, Josh. That was very rude. He would never like smoke, but he would take like edible gummies.
What he would have a candy cigarette.
He would. There's no smoke like from a candy cigarette.
What is a candy cigarette?
It's just
You don't
like a
know what
candy
kind of...
like a hard candy stick that's in like the shape of a cigarette and colored like one.
No,
No,
no.
is that not what it is?
I haven't seen anything like that. No.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
That's what it's kind of here, because those were, I hear those were really popular back in like the 60s and 70s. Was like candy
we-
cigarettes.
I
This is-
remember them from the 90s. Cause like I would always see them whenever we go to like a specialty shop that was not just like a generic like gas station.
Yeah,
This is
and
what-
I get one. It's
what
cool.
we were. We had the straight pretzels to pretend they were the cigarettes.
I mean, I guess
so-
that works.
Josh,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this picture. It's very attractive, but I just want to say, you're giving him like his arms are so thick, and I'm just like, this bitch just playing the Vita. He does not have arms that thick. He does not work out. Like his workout is literally button mashing. Maybe his like thumbs are thick. His arms are not.
I don't know. I wouldn't say they're thick here. They're just rounded.
They're rounded, but they're rounded in like based on like even my own arms, based on like Brian's arms who does work out. Like this, like Vita's a skinny bitch. Like I love him. I adore
Don't-
him.
Don't you want to be held by those arms? Fine.
Yeah, but Vita doesn't have those arms. Vita is like a dumb bitch.
Shame on you, Mr. Josh, for wrongly portraying Vita.
No, it's fine. If he wants to do this for like Vita is like fantasizing this. Like I do think that like there should be like a cloud bubble around it where it's like, oh, like the cloud bubble reveals like Vita with like he's just being very stupid, or he's like, yeah, this is what I look like, and it's like, no, you don't.
I love how you're drawing him with spread legs. You just can't resist putting a little bit of horny in there.
No, this is not horny.
It's for Josh.
I don't agree that this is horny.
Okay.
Sulky,
Fine.
shut the fuck up. If Josh wants to draw something like this, we're gonna say it's not horny until he posts it, and then we could say, Josh, what the fuck is wrong with you? This is like the most sexualized picture you've ever drawn. But like until that point, we need to encourage him and be like, what are you talking about? This is
Yeah, it's
innocent.
fine.
So Sulky, shut the fuck up.
Okay, alright.
Just draw him without pants. It's fine.
No, I did that once, never again for Vita.
We do appreciate it.
Wait. When did you draw Vita without pants?
You've
Like, you're
seen
just
that
talking
pic.
about- That wasn't Vita.
That was Vita.
No. If somebody has a picture of like Vita without pants, send it to me. Like Jesus Christ, I will swap you for pictures of the other good boy, whose name I can't remember right now because I'm distracted by Vita. Because Vita's like my boyfriend. He's very stupid with his opinions. Like this Vita, I'm sorry, I love this Vita. He has Vinegar Solid Vibe vibes. Like Kojima was like, this is my interpretation of Vita. Like, yeah, of course it is.
There, pantsless Vita.
Oh, did you post it in Discord? I need
Yeah.
to see it. Okay, give me a second. Okay, that's separate. That's separate from like.
He is pantsless though.
He is, but like I've seen Zeke's dick. I haven't seen Vita's dick.
Oh my god.
Does he use his pants to hold Vita?
Sorry. I realize that people are confused. When like I say I've seen Zeke's dick, I haven't seen Vita's dick. I don't mean like fan art. I mean like Josh at one point was like, "Let me live stream this on Discord as an exclusive," and then like deleted the picture ASAP when he realized, oh shit, people can like recognize this. I did take a screenshot of it where like I did see like Zeke was like fully wrecked. It wasn't finished as an art, but like it was enough where I was like, oh, this is like how like big Josh thinks Zeke is. And I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Very interesting. Can you send it to me?
Well, no, it was actually very reasonable. I'm just like, yeah, that's actually very reasonable. It was like a little bit larger than average, but it's like, yeah, of course Zeke would be a little bit larger than average. Whereas, like, I feel like
He's a
Vita is a
bottom.
little bit. No, Vita is below average, but he is also like better at using it than Zeke ever is because Zeke is just like a fucking idiot. Zeke just doesn't know how to use it, but like people don't care because like the visual aspect is enough. Vita does know how to use it, even though he's like below average.
Are you criticizing MrJosh again that he focuses too much on visuals?
No, this is separate.
Okay.
We're not talking about that. Dragos, that's a lie. And if they are, don't listen to them because you're cool.
Can you send me
like
just
Messer, like
Yeah.
specifically Messer, talk to Dragos because you retweet a lot of his art.
Yeah, I know. I retweet like half of his Twitter. Like half of my Twitter. Half of my Twitter feed. Listen, half of my Twitter feed when I see a funny image, it's by Dragos. Like Dragos liked it or something.
Yeah, so like Dragos just posted the internet is just telling me to disappear forever. Like, Master, I just need you to be like, no, that's like fucking bullshit. Like, I'm gonna have zero content to post if like you disappeared.
Yeah, but you have to talk on VC. That's how I like. That's how I divide people. The ones I talked on VC and the ones I didn't.
So you seeing the stuff you've already seen. Oh, that's not surprising because like it's only like a certain community, and like we're a small community here. Like Josh's like birdcage, unfortunately named recently. But
do you not like the name the birdcage?
No, the birdcage is perfect for you. Whether I like it or not is not part of this discussion. I actually do think it's good. But me saying I think it's good will make you change it, so I don't want you to change it. So I'm gonna like refrain from me saying that I think it's good. Dragos, I know you've seen a lot of this stuff, but like there's only so many people and we are all following like the same people. So like it's gonna happen. especially when you have like when you go to some place and you're just like, God, I just want something classic. I just want like the most vanilla thing ever. Like I just like really like vanilla ice cream. Suddenly you're gonna be like, Twitter's gonna be like, hey, have you checked out MrJosh 47? Like this is a vanilla Twitter account. And like sometimes to be fair to Josh, sometimes he is vanilla bean or French vanilla and he'll post like, hey, here's like a card anime like you should watch. The
I have
problem
never
with him.
recommended one on my channel.
So yes, you have. The problem is that post, if you look it up, it won't be a retweet. It won't be a retweet, but it will be like almost word for word a post he's already posted, which is very much like the spirit of vanilla.
Oh,
Of like,
fine.
wow, I have this
Well,
thought.
yeah.
I'm gonna post it, but like you already posted it like 5 years ago.
Fine.
And that's
fine.
yes.
Have we talked about the MrJosh opinions on white bread yesterday? We did, right? You were here.
I was not here for that, so I don't know about his opinion on white bread.
No, it's just
I can guess.
okay. Guess.
As somebody who like really loves bread, he's not really gonna value white bread the same way that like somebody who is like poor and like goes to church and like only has like an option of so many like bread options where it's like here's what like they're gonna throw away. Like you can take this bread. Like maybe that person will appreciate white bread more. It's still not good,
No,
but it gets the job done.
MrJosh loves white bread.
Okay,
He's a bird.
He. I'm referring to his sacred word from the Echo playthrough. He thinks that if you put anything on the white bread, you're ruining it.
I have a couple things to say. So one, Mesky.
Yeah.
So like I know you're like watching the Echo playthrough fucking finally. It's taken you like 10 years to actually watch it. Like thank God you're finally watching it.
Okay.
But like it doesn't count. It doesn't count. It's also like it's good. It's like the best content he's ever produced. But also it doesn't count. Selkie.
Yeah.
Him being like he's a bird, he likes it. The thing is with Josh, he's not a bird. And I've like definitively like decided this. Josh is not a bird, he's a duck.
Okay.
Like he doesn't like heights. He's like, oh my god, I hate this. But like if people give him bread and throw bread at him, he's like, yeah, this is good. Like that's duck behavior. That's not bird behavior. That's duck behavior specifically. And the fact that he's like, I really like Leo, who's like gonna rape me. Like that's duck behavior.
Okay. One, fuck you. I forgot what you said, but I was offended by it. Two,
Shouldn't be.
if we are the little birdlings, who is MrJosh?
A problem?
Is he like Duck Mama?
God, no.
Oh, your mama duck now.
His Mama Duck and me, his little birdlings.
Yeah, little ducklings.
Look, he does shit out birds like constantly. True. He's not a mama duck. He's just like, a duckling.
He's more like an ant duck, right? That doesn't have children.
Times removed.
Josh is an uncle duck. Okay? Like, he needs to be masculine, but it also needs to be like awkward that he's like masculine. And that like you need to be Uncle Duck and people need to like respond with it where it's like, really? Okay. Like that's the vibe I get. But also, he considers himself a bird. False, that's propaganda. Like he's said it so many times where it's just like, no, he does not respect like bird. lifestyles. But duck lifestyles, he's all about it.
You know, ducks are birds also.
They are, but they're also like rapey birds, which he's all about. He's like, yeah, I love that shit.
You are the so he's like he would be like a dolphin, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit.
I see.
Yeah, that makes sense for him. Again, the second he like admitted in like the like Burroughs playthrough where he's like, if I'm on the second floor of like a hotel room, I'll close the blinds immediately because I just don't want to know like the height. Like that's duck behavior. That's not bird behavior. That's duck behavior.
I lived my whole life on the fucking first floor.
Ground floor?
Yeah, ground floor. This almost gets me killed. When I was trying to use the elevator, but I was clicking button 1, so it was not the ground floor; it was the first floor, and I couldn't go there.
Dragos. No, I understand what you're saying. And I agree. And I also agree that like specifically, like if he wants to like say like he is a bird, and you're like 70% of birds are terrible, he would definitely not buck the trend. But if we're like duck Josh, maybe he would buck the trend. He would be stereotypical. Oh my god, sorry, I can't speak right now. Bird, duck, but he wouldn't be stereotypical bird. Like I feel like the fact that he likes Leo is like duck behavior. It's not bird behavior. Like bird behavior is like all about Flynn or Jenna. Duck behavior is all about like Leo.
What do you mean? I'd love to fly
What do you-
south to go to Leo. Like normal
Yeah.
birds.
Terrible.
You really are like, wow, this top, I really want to fuck them. That's duck behavior.
I mean, it's not my fault. That's just the kind of guys I'm into.
It feels more.
I get it. I'm just saying that's duck behavior, you little shit.
Oh, MrJosh,
Yeah.
cute drawings. Oh fuck, I love Zeke. Or is it Vita? I don't know. One of them.
This is Vita. I do want Josh to draw something based on the like awful pictures I posted of like the cows and the bear. Of
I already drew a bear this stream.
I do understand. Like what animal haven't you drawn that I think would be good?
I don't know. It
I
will have
do-
to wait till next time though, because I'm gonna stop the stream here. I don't.
Good
wanna draw
night.
I do
next
think that's
time.
a good idea.
Bye.
I will say goodbye.
Yeah, I'll see you around.